Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you doing this.
Of course.
This is the first show that Rocco and I are on together where there really is not an agenda.
I love it.
Not that we have a big agenda ever.
No.
We have a comfortable framework
Yes.
that we go.
Absolutely.
But having you fine gentlemen here together is a treat because I think the diversity and hilarity in this room is insane. So this is non-alcoholic. I'm still on the wagon. But I did bring Fred a slushie before we begin.
Hey.
So I want to let you know, I stopped down at the beer distributor, and they had these frozen slushies, and so they had 6 of them. And like it's so cold in there because it sits like in a garage like kind of thing. It's open. And I start yanking. I get a cup and I start yanking on, and nothing's coming out. I'm like, oh, no, this one's no good. I start yanking another one. Like 4 of them, and finally this one with the purple liquid came out. So I don't know what this is exactly.
It's like milking a cow.
But
just sitting there,
I don't have a straw. So
I've always got straws.
Wait, what?
I got a straw, man.
You got a straw in you. Get the fuck out of here.
Hang on.
You carry
jacket pocket.
You never know when you're going to need a straw, man. Yeah,
is that a touring thing?
It's it's its own thing, but
It's a COVID thing.
yeah, COVID.
You don't want to just take a plastic straw from anybody, right?
Yeah,
It's in your wallet.
They even
It's
give out
folded. You got a
straws.
plastic straw folded up.
Well, yeah, you
That's
never know.
impressive.
You never know.
That's
when
impressive. That's
That
impressive.
is impressive.
You never
That's
know.
Preparation.
I suppose.
It's 2020,
I suppose.
and you never know when you're going to need. If situation calls for. There it is. Look.
Yeah.
In your prior life of touring, were straws always kind of kept close by hand for other uses?
I knew people, yeah. I knew people that needed them, and it's just it's just an old habit that you
But
know.
you were also broke. You couldn't use the $100 bill, so you used the plastic Wendy's
No, that's
straw.
what you would always use was because less people touched them. You know, you don't want to use $1. Send your rock star out there with $1. It's like no, you got a hundo, but you lose a lot of them like that. You don't get them back a lot.
I would imagine
Or my
you would.
favorite thing was, hey man, I don't have a straw. I don't have $1. You got 100? Here, I'll hold that for you.
And somehow that probably fucking worked too. 2020.
That's not bad.
What is it?
It's a slushie. It's a black cherry slushie. I don't drink anymore. So it's 2020.
7-Eleven special.
Yeah.
Whatever they were
Can you
pouring
buy
out.
that shit at 7-Elevens?
I don't know, but you just bought it at a beer distributor.
Yeah,
So
you can get them
bought
at gas
a
stations
slushy.
in my town.
He bought moonshine at the same beer distributor like 8 shows ago.
That's right.
He bought moonshine.
Yeah, Sheets
Really?
will sell that. Yeah, Sheets will have that
Yeah,
stuff.
Sheets has it.
Apparently, I haven't been paying
Whoa,
attention.
she sells moonshine.
Sheets got them in the little mason jars, but it's not as like potent as you can get at the. It's not like the moonshiner's moonshine, but it's Sheets got
So
it.
you can buy alcohol hard alcohol at a gas station. I thought you only buy beer. I must have missed this whole fucking conversation or this part of the year.
Pull that a little closer to you.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to sit. I want you to relax. Just pull the whole fucking muscle that thing over there.
These things are heavy, man.
All right, there you go.
I think it depends on where you're at. I think certain places you could probably buy.
Further out in the sticks, you can buy all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Gas station.
I got to start paying. I can't remember, though, the last time I've been in a Sheetz or a Gecko. I think it actually has been before the pandemic. Like to actually go in to the gas station to buy something.
Yeah.
There's a Get-Go right by my office, and I would go there all the time. I haven't been in there since March.
I've been in there. I mean, we got loose. I mean, there was a shutdown, and then we all kind of got loose with it, like in the end of the summer, early fall,
Yep.
and then it got restrictive again.
Yeah.
So I was out doing my thing, masked, of course.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of people with this beer distributor didn't have any masks on.
Yeah, right.
They looked like they were from Mexico. A lot of them in a group. There
Stereotype.
seems to be a lot of that going on. There as well. They were Mexican, I could tell. and they had just gotten off
Dos
work.
Equis. They were the Dos Equis
But
delivery guys.
They were. No, I don't know what beer they were buying. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. I'm just saying none of them were masked, and I thought that was very odd. Now we are in an open garage kind of area, which
Thing was, back in the day, if you approached a gas station with a mask, you were in deep shit. You approached the bank with a mask. Now they would expect you to go in with a mask. She's like, hello.
Yeah, like literally, we went out grocery shopping this past weekend. I had on like a black sweatsuit, a black tassel cap, and a black mask, and it was like fucking normal.
Come on in.
Like I look like a ninja, or I'm about to rob this place, but yet it was perfectly acceptable. And that's what has blown my mind about this year. What has just become acceptable. And it's just like, what the fuck is happening? Like, when is this going to end? And when are we going to get back to some semblance of normalcy? I just don't know.
You leave the store with less money than you walked in with while you're wearing a mask and all masked up. You're like, what the fuck happened? Like, how did this happen?
I'm supposed to leave with
I'm
more
used
money.
to like if I'm wearing a mask and I don't want anyone to see my face, I'm coming out of here with money. But you go in and you're like, fuck, I'm broke.
Yes.
How did this happen?
Yes.
Do you think there's been more insane things that have happened throughout the country that just are not reported? Like, because I can't imagine you take all of America and you tell them now that you can mask up and go do commerce, like retail commerce. That there hasn't been more shit. Come on, man.
It's reverse psychology. Now you don't want to do it. You don't want to rob anything. You're like, fuck. There's no fun in that.
There's no rush in it. There's no adrenaline. It's like, I don't need to steal this.
It's like, hey, take your mask off, and then somebody pulls a gun on you. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah,
this isn't even fun. It's not even a challenge, you know? Come on.
Well, think about it. It's like the people that aren't wearing masks now are the villains. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. I mean, when you think about how fucked up that is. You know, now if you don't have a mask on, you are the bad guy.
And you're getting publicly shamed. You're all over the internet. Like, you're on Facebook, Twitter. You're going to be famous for the rest of your life for not wearing a mask.
Without his mask. You know?
And people are taking a video, and they're like, he's not wearing a mask. I saw one the other day. This lady's like, I'm trying to see what's in your beard. She starts dancing, yelling at everybody. Everyone else is like, lady, calm down.
Wait, what?
Yeah, this lady was taking a video of a guy who was, I guess he wasn't wearing a mask. So she's trying to, like, film it. As he's not wearing his mask, she has hers. She's trying to get like the attention of other shoppers, people that work there,
and the other Karen.
And I think so. I think so. Aaron, Karen, similar. I don't know, but they were like, even the other shoppers were like, "Lady, you need to calm down. Like, he doesn't want to wear a mask. We don't need to make a big fuss of this." And I was like, man, I feel bad for whoever she's with. She wasn't with anybody, because whoever was married to her or related to her was probably like,
they sat in the car
long gone. They were like, they knew. Yeah, they were like, no, I'm not. I don't want to be associated with this for the rest of my life.
And that's the thing. Like, I don't know if you guys, what your opinion is, but I think people have gotten less restrictive about it. I think there's less shaming than there was a few months ago. But I think there's still that 10% of the population that are just fucking crazy. And I get it. It's something, we got to do certain things. But, you know, if I'm walking down the street by myself and I don't have a mask on and you look at me like I'm fucking crazy, like, why?
Yeah.
Like, you're nowhere. I was walking from my office to the post office today, and going there was fine. Put my mask on and I walked, and coming back, there's an older woman walking on the other, like, literally 50 yards from me.
Right.
Like, saw me. I saw her eyes go, like, I didn't have a mask on, and she literally went across the street and made such an effort to avoid me. I'm thinking to myself, has common sense left the building? That's what I feel like has happened this year, and I don't know when it's gonna fucking come back.
Well, the fun thing was with me, it used to be, is I'd walk down. I look scary as hell. And if I wanted somebody,
I would not say that.
If I wanted somebody to get out of my way on the sidewalk, if I wanted somebody to get on my way on the sidewalk, I just would scowl or grimace or whatever, and people would like get out of the way. Yeah. Now I just sneeze, and you just see people scatter. And what's fucked up, man, is I got out of the shower the other day, and I sneezed. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, Motherfucker, really? You used to bring that up there, and I'm like shaming myself. Oh, you didn't even cover your. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm like looking in the mirror, like challenging myself. Without a mask, really gonna do that here without not in your elbow? It's like what the fuck, man?
It's like I'm afraid to get a common cold now.
Can you even get the common cold anymore?
I don't
Or is
know.
everything?
I don't. I mean, because I always get sniffles every time of year, especially now because I'm out at night.
Yep.
Running, walking, so I that constant change of temperature. I'm going to get sniffles.
Yep.
They don't track that anymore.
Well,
Not
yeah,
2020.
okay,
They're not even paying attention, yeah.
Mr. Medical Professional.
Yeah,
what do they
you're-
track?
Oh shit, COVID. Right now, that's it. But they're not keeping track of like flu cases. They're not keeping track of like if you have the common cold, it's like, oh, you have symptoms. You need to stay home for 14 days, whatever it is. We're not paying you, but we don't want you around everybody else. And I kind of get it. I mean, it is what it is. It's contagious. We understand that. But now the CDC's said it flat out. We're not tracking flu numbers this year. Like, really?
Which
So
you
you're
can't
just
do
gonna, like,
crazy.
yeah, like why can't you track?
Well,
why
that's
can't you
what-
do both? You're swabbing somebody. Why can't you check for?
Well, then the
for
other
both?
thing I saw, which drove me crazy, and we might have talked about this last time, but I was reading an article and they were saying that why are cause CDC, if you look at the charts, right, it was like last year the flu season, this year the flu season. And it's like, well, why are flu cases down there? Like, well, it's because, we've been masking and social distancing. And it's like, well, why are COVID cases up? Well, because people haven't been masking and social distancing. It's like, well, what the fuck did you... like, you can't have it both ways. Like, I get... And that's my whole thing with all of this. Look, I have my own viewpoints. I think we all have different viewpoints. We may all have the same, but it's... Just give us the straight answers. Like, quit dicking around with people, because I feel like they keep moving the goalpost.
Right.
They keep saying, well, now we have to have 70% vaccinated, then it's 80%, now it's 90%. It's like, well, do we need 110% to be vaccinated? Is everybody going to be vaccinated twice? Like, what the fuck? And it's, I mean, you're in the healthcare field. Like, I mean, I'm curious what your opinion is on it.
This is where it all went wrong. Like, right from the get-go. They came out early on.
Seattle should have run the ball
during this outbreak. Like, well, so I hate the Seahawks. But
had they run the ball, the whole world would have been different from now on.
the entire
butterfly effect.
Yeah, the entire
exactly right.
population of Seattle will tell you that. But so early on, they came out. Fauci is like, hey, you don't need to worry. Not everyone needs to wear a mask. It's not that big of a deal. It's not going to stop the spread. Then 3 weeks later, they come out and they're like, everyone needs to wear a mask. Yeah, we told you don't a few weeks ago, but it's just because we were worried about running out of masks. You're like,
So
whoa.
he lied to us.
And you're like, well, what the fuck, man? You're supposed to be the expert on this shit. And you told us a few weeks ago, don't worry about it. Now you're like, yeah, we lied to you, but it was because we were worried we didn't have enough masks. You're like, how many people died in the
that
meantime,
made it okay
man?
to lie?
Yep.
And then you're like, well, how many people died in the meantime, number one? And number two, how are we supposed to trust you going forward? So whatever you say now, people are gonna question it. And not only are they gonna question that, but because you're the you're the supreme authority, no matter who's underneath you that says shut down restaurants, shut down bars, whatever, people are gonna question everything.
Yep.
No
Which
question.
That's exactly right.
I'm completely okay with.
Yeah.
Question everything because we've already learned it's hard to trust them.
Fauci is now more, in my opinion, he's been marginalized, and I will not discount his entire career of medicine. I will never do that. But I'm saying, as it sits today, his actions have caused him to be marginalized because you can't fucking believe him.
That's
And I'm not tying him to Trump or against Trump. I'm just saying the guy's opening his mouth. Listen, there are photos, whether you're pro Fauci or against Fauci, there are photos of him at the Nationals game.
yeah.
That terrible first pitch.
That was the worst
Holy
thing.
shit.
It wasn't as bad as 50 Cent. You ever see that? That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But yes, it wasn't great. It wasn't great.
50 Cent had a gunshot wound. No one's ever shot
Maybe that's
Fauci.
it. That's true.
Not yet.
that we know of.
That we know of.
No, watch, I'll be arrested by the FBI for that.
It'll be me, though.
I don't practice criminal law, man. You're going to have to call somebody
I know,
else.
I'm going to have to.
I was just sitting here.
Yeah, Fred's going to give you the disclaimer right away. He doesn't want nothing added to that history.
Let me slip it on
I
the sashi.
I just think he has been marginalized to the point where you can't lie to the American people And it's one thing to get caught, but he admitted that he lied.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know if it's noble or not, but you're not trustworthy now.
No.
And that's been Rogan's issue
Yeah.
with politics in the beginning. He hammers that home. Like,
Yeah.
we can't trust the word he says. I don't care what your motives for lying were. You fucking lie.
Yeah, I mean that's what the vaccine. Like he just recently said. Well, I said 70%, and then when I saw the stats say that 60% of people will probably get it, then I figured, well, I can try and push a little bit more and move that number to 85 to 90%. It's like,
How about
no,
you saying we
can't.
don't know?
That's from the beginning.
I know.
I said if these politicians would have just got up and said, we don't have a fucking clue what we're doing, we're figuring out as we go, I would have had way more respect for what happened.
But here's
it's just-
preventatively we're going to try to do.
Yeah. But it's like, no, the science, the data, the science. Like, no. Like, show me the data that supports any of this shit. Like, they can't. Like, that's what I don't get. And it's like, one thing to your point, I think what this year has done, it's made people question things. And I think that's a benefit going forward.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
It's also brought out the worst in people.
Questions everything.
That's
all the time.
That's a great thing to do, in my opinion, because why take things at face value? We have to challenge everything. I mean, that's the point of life. If you don't challenge the rules or the regulations, and then the government's gonna do what they want. It's tyranny.
And I think people were skeptical from the get-go. Like, people have not trusted them for a long time. And then this rolls around, and as soon as he says, don't mask up, and then a few weeks later he's like, you know what? We only said it because we don't have enough. Everyone's like, all right, well, we're just rolling along with what's been going on for the last X amount of years.
But
Like,
there
it's
was
really
enough
hard.
masks. There might not have been enough N95s, but there was plenty of masks everywhere.
So it wasn't. Yeah, so early on, so we're way worse off now than we were in March, April, May. Like, things are way worse now than they were
When you
then.
say worse, you mean like in terms of infection rates, or in terms of,
yeah. Like, in terms of infection rates, hospitalizations.
But this was
things are way worse
predicted
now.
with the winter coming, right?
It was predicted with the winter coming, the flu season, all this other stuff. Like, and people are still going to travel. People are still going to go, like, gather with families and things like that. But, how do you stop that? How do you say...
A machine gun outside your door. like they do in China and Indonesia. Places where it doesn't exist anymore.
You can't keep people inside all the time. You can't keep telling them, hey, you can't do this. They're going to be like, says who?
Screw you, it's my right.
And that's...
You're oppressing me.
And that's...
This is my revolution.
Oh, my God.
Watch me take my mask down and cough on you. How you like that?
That's the best accent.
I've seen those videos, too. Yeah, I've seen those videos, too, where people are like...
So, okay, so I will say this. I think Rocco and I've had enough conversations on this as I have with you. So both you guys are not too far apart, but a little far apart in terms of your stated positions.
6 feet.
Yes, we're all 6 feet.
Absolutely.
But you had to do that, didn't you? That's right. I will say there was some real stupidity that in some instances throughout the past 8 months where you saw massive gatherings of people that were not practicing non-mask and non-social distancing. Sturgis was ridiculous. I'm sorry that because of the nature of Sturgis, it could have been done differently if they cared, but they just didn't care to. That's the culture of people that go to Sturgis. I get it. That wasn't smart either. So I believe that we haven't always used our brains either as citizens in how we've handled our behavior.
It's America, though. I mean,
spring break. America.
Well, I mean, think about it. Like when they try and I hate the talk about we should have had a national response. We should have did this. It's like there's 51 governments. Yeah. You can't. In America's so diverse. You can't force New York to do the same thing that a South Dakota does. It's not right, and Americans won't put up with that. People live in America for freedom. Right. Let's be honest, and people want to be able to make their own choices. I get we had to do something. I get what this is and always will be something. But I think the way this was approached, from the entire year looking back, I think it was handled poorly by all sides of the aisle, both sides of the aisle. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just Trump. It was everybody. Yeah. It was the constant lying, the constant moving the goalposts.
A lot of grandstanding.
It was. I mean, how do you say like in California, the one woman's restaurant that was, she went on Facebook, was crying, like she spent all this money to set up outside dining.
Right.
They shut her down. Then a movie set up their craft services in her fucking parking lot.
Right.
That was okay. Like, how do you do that? And like, think about now, like you can have outdoor dining. Basically, restaurants have just set up inside, outside. So where's the sign? Like, how? It's just, when you look at it, it's like, what are we doing? Like, we have these enclosed tents, heated, but because it's not in the building, it's okay. So does COVID, I mean, you're the health professional, does COVID not spread outside of a building?
My oldest son told me this summer at a wedding, when I told him, hey, you can't run around the hotel lobby like this. You can't run around crazy. My oldest son, 5 years old, told me, Dad, you don't catch the Rona sitting down. And I was like, well,
how do you argue that?
The way things are going, you're kind of right. Like, we can go to a restaurant. Like, I can take you to a restaurant.
Yeah.
And you can sit there and eat with us, and no one gives you any grief.
Right.
But if you're out running around in the lobby here, people have already said, hey, you need to go back there. You need to stay X distance apart. And my 5-year-old son's like, you don't catch the Rona sitting down, apparently. I was like,
it's a great point.
Kind of right, man. Like, maybe we're just too short. It's going right over our head. I'm not sure. I mean,
if you sit there, you don't run through it. You're not running through the sneeze cloud.
Yeah, it's just like rolling right over your head. Like,
streamline around you.
The rain cloud passed. We're safe. We're okay. We don't have to worry about it. But it's tough, and that's the problem. Is that nothing made sense.
That's exactly
early
right.
on. Nothing made sense. They're saying, hey, you can't do this. You can't go to restaurants. You can't do all that.
Gyms.
You can't go to gyms. Like, you can't stay healthy. Don't do that. But you can go to Walmart.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
You could see these lines at Walmart of people. I went Christmas Eve. I stopped at Walmart on Christmas Eve. And I walked right back out. The lines for every register were going, 13, 14 people deep. You're like, holy. So I can't go next door and eat at this pizza place and sit down by myself with my kids. But we can have this many people standing at the register, like checking themselves out, self-checkout, whatever, doing that. And that little plastic thing between us, as you're hitting the buttons, and the person behind you is wearing the same gloves they've been wearing since 7 o'clock at 2:30, putting that shit into your bag. They're like, oh, fuck.
Or how they have like saran wrap on the credit card machines now. Like, okay, but people are still touching the saran wrap.
It's a feel-good thing.
Don't want that machine to get it. Yeah,
right. And like, what? And that's the thing. Like, we do shit like this, and people have just accepted it. Like, that's what we need to do.
Pseudoscience stuff, right?
Is it though? Is it?
I mean, like, no, but I'm saying it's giving the illusion of science that we're saving somebody or saving someone's potential.
When I walk into Giant Eagle and see crinkled up saran wrap on the credit card machine, and 3 people in front of me touched it, and no one changed it or cleaned it, I'm like, this is not science.
Right.
This is just, I don't even know what it is.
Pseudoscience, like garbage.
You hand someone cash at Giant Eagle and they're wearing the plastic gloves. They hand you back all your change. Grab it out of there. Here you go. I'm like,
yeah, it just doesn't make sense. And
contactless, what? You guys just handed me back my change, everything else, and you were wearing the same gloves as 7 people in front of me.
I always laugh at that, like the Domino's commercial, like, no one has touched your pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Because somebody before used to touch it all the time before they deliver it? Like, what the fuck? The guy sitting in the car going, nah, he's jamming his finger. Oh, then nobody's touched
it. Let me see if it's warm. Let me make sure this is good.
Sampling.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing, though. But like, think about that. Like, there's commercials now that are telling us that no one touched your pizza. No shit. No one's supposed to touch my pizza. Like, put it in the box and bring it to my house. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's what I'm curious about. Like, if no one touched my pizza. Cool. Who made it?
Yeah, right.
Can I meet the guy that made my pizza? I'm curious because somebody had their hands all over beforehand.
Wait, so I got to Best Buy and I ordered something at Best Buy and I wanted it delivered there, and they said, well, you can pick it up at the store. And I'm like, okay, I'll pick it up at the store. So I pick it up at the store, and there you have to pull in. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't understand the whole drop-off thing. I'm picking it up at the store.
Yeah.
I go in, and I ask the gentleman, because now they're interrogating as you go into Best Buy. I don't know if you've gone there over the holidays, but there's a there's a podium there, and they're kind of like harassing you.
Take your temperature, waterboard you, all that other
Close.
shit.
Or else be very annoying and ask if they can help you 20 times.
Yeah.
I said, I'm here to pick up, my package. And they're like, oh, well, you have to do that outside. And I said, says customer pickup window right there, and there's 2 dudes just standing there. Well, that is if you buy it in the store and they don't have it on the shelf. They have it stored in the back. And I go, but I have to wait for you to bring it outside because it was purchased from another store and then shipped here. I go, can I just walk over there? Because it's over there, right? Well, it's over there. We have to pull it and bring it out to you. I'm here.
Right.
I'm saving you man hours. I'm walking in the store. Can I get my package? No. I had to go back in my car and they had to bring it to me. Out of the same area that the store pickup was at. Am I losing my fucking mind, or am I just missing something?
No, I mean that's the problem. Like the stuff we're doing, the deeper we get into this, and the more I think we look at it, the more ridiculous it is. But also, the more accepting of it people have become. It's just like, well, this is what we do now.
Conditioned.
That's exactly. I mean, there's
Towards
plenty of
stupidity.
videos out there on how you condition people for communism and socialism, and I watched a few of them and went down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, fuck.
Because there was nothing else to do.
No,
You were
exactly.
going, like, there's a YouTube video
Shit,
on. Yeah.
this is actually like what's going on.
Yeah,
like you
you're-
drive on the highway, stay 6 feet apart, wear your mask. Like on the highway, they're telling us the social distance on signs. Like what the fuck?
Well, don't you remember, like early on, like I was driving and I started seeing signs on the road that said COVID protocols, and they just started popping these signs up with no explanation to the
Yes.
public.
Yep.
The news didn't give us warning.
Yep.
It made me feel like I was in one of those dystopian kind of like end of the world movies, like
1984.
yeah, like COVID, like signs
that
start
movie
popping up
and
on the highway. I mean,
Yeah.
could you do anything more radical at that time where we're already gorked out of our minds to scare the hell out of us?
So they're like, COVID safety protocols are in place on this construction site. And I'm like, look, man,
They didn't say
I've been in
construction
PA.
site.
I was like, look,
They didn't
I
say
was like, look,
construction site.
I was like, look, I've been in PA my entire life. I know how PennDOT works.
Right. Yeah.
Believe me, 6 feet, 60 feet, same thing for PennDOT. There's 60 feet between work crews, and no one's doing shit in between them.
Right. And why are they telling us?
Completely
Like I'm going to
understand.
get out
Yeah.
and be doing construction. It's
Yeah,
like,
I'm
oh,
not gonna
cool, I can stop and
stop.
help
But
these
they
guys.
didn't
Like,
say
what?
construction
like-
site. They
well,
just put a
yeah.
sign that says It said COVID protocols in place. That's it.
Yeah. Well,
Now,
years,
is that a COVID stop? We're going to be stopped?
years ago with like the people speeding by the construction site,
yep.
they're like, slow down, my mom works here. You know, they had like all those signs
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
They put them up at like intervals. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
all right, well, we'll slow down when your mom shows up to work. Fuck, this is PennDOT. Like, well,
Nobody gets COVID
yeah, we'll
sitting there.
No one gets COVID sitting in traffic. Yeah, you're good.
You drive
Yeah,
past that
according-
construction zone,
according to-
you got
Yeah,
COVID.
you got
Yeah,
it. You
according to
got
my
it.
son, you can outrun it.
Yep. You sit at a bar and don't eat food, you're getting COVID.
That's right.
Food cures it.
So I have to mention Wolf. I was trying not to go this direction, but this whole thing about how it was a couple months ago where you weren't allowed to have an alcoholic beverage unless you bought a hamburger.
Yeah.
Like the whole
like that.
I still don't understand like how because I'm not drinking now. How does that work? You have to be eating, but if you're going to go someplace to drink, is that right?
So the way, and again, every restaurant followed it differently because there were places I've been that's like, okay, we can't bring you a beer until there's food on the table.
Yep.
Other places I've been like, are you gonna order something at some point while you're sitting here? Cool, you can get shit faced. It's like, okay, like it's just, but you had the ticket had to have food and alcohol on it. Again, explain to me the science behind it. I understand they said people just go out to drink, they lose their inhibitions, they get close, they break social. Okay, I get that. Then say that and give some science or data to support it. Because that's what restaurants make money on, their alcohol sales, right? And now you're preventing people from doing that. And when I go out, now I have to buy food if I want to have a beer. I can't even sit at a bar, I have to sit at a table.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. Like I don't get the science behind it.
You would think that the restaurants would be happy because not only are they selling alcohol, but they're also selling food. You know what I mean? So you're guaranteed a food sale. But
True,
that
But it
they're
might be,
mad about
but
it.
it might be
But
discouraging.
you're
people
only
to go.
limited to 3 drinks, right? That was when it started.
I
you were
didn't
only
know
allowed to
that.
have. It
That's
was a-
when you
Yeah.
buy the other
Oh, well,
burger.
no wonder you
now,
stayed
now
home.
you get the fries.
That's when you had to start. You had
That's
to
why
start a
I'm
new
getting
check.
fat.
You were limited to.
Yeah, you had to start a new check, and that was the problem. And where I think clients of mine that have restaurants, right, where I think it killed them is that late night crowd. You get the people that come in at 10 o'clock and they have 4 or 5 drinks. You make your margin on the drinks. Like food, you don't make much money on food. So if you get people coming in and you got a bar full of people buying alcohol, that's where you make your night. The bartenders make their money, the waitresses, the waiters, they make their money. Food, I mean, that's the problem. And it's just like it kills me because I've watched so many businesses be impacted by this. Yeah. And they just don't know what to do, and they can't, they're trying to do everything they can to comply and stay safe, but they're just being picked on. And gyms are the other thing. Like, how can you can limit how people can go in a gym? Gyms are clean, they're safe, but yet they were closed down for 3 weeks, but down in the waterfront, Bed Bath & Beyond had a sign out front that said, our maximum occupancy is 458 people. I'm like, how is that? I've never seen more than 50 people in a Bed Bath & Beyond.
They don't have that many
That's
customers
wishful
total.
thinking. Right. That's beyond. Yeah. They're like, hey, look, we're open.
Right. Come here, please. We can hold 458 of you. It'll be awesome.
It's like you want to have a party or something, you can't go there. You can go to Bed Bath & Beyond and just hang out, just have like a birthday there or something.
Bring your flasks. Come on in.
Yeah,
It'll be a good time.
You got everything's there. You got the tables and chairs and the place settings. Oh yeah.
I just went to Field and Stream the other day up in Cranberry. Same thing. They have like, you're allowed, the maximum occupancy is 400 and
which is crazy.
X amount. I'm like, really? There 400 people have never been in this store at the same time. Like, I've been in here on Christmas Eve. Yeah. I've been in here on like New Year's
I don't know
Eve.
400 people that
I've
shop
never
at that
seen
store.
400 people in this place at the same time. You couldn't find 400 people between Barnes & Noble, Best Buy, that place in one time.
Right.
But that's what you're limited to. And you're like, fuck, man.
Right. How does that make sense?
Like, yeah, but you can't have more than 6 people at a table next door at the pizza place. Why not?
All right, I'm going to say this.
Yeah.
Eric knows. This entire COVID thing, have been careful. Mm-hmm. I've abided by the rules.
Well, you're a germaphobe.
I'm a germaphobe.
Okay.
There's a reason. I was playing out at a bar, and they abided by the rules.
Okay.
And we grumbled about having to buy the food or whatever, but I was eating anyway. I go there to eat anyway because the food was good. And I get up and I play, and everything was great. Yesterday, I went to a local establishment that's trying to buck the system.
Yeah,
Okay.
I heard there's a few out there.
Yeah.
Quite a few.
So I figure, you know what, we're going to go in there and, at least they'll social distance us. It's a big place. Went in there. They had a table of 10 or 12 sitting there beside us. And every table, they put people, you didn't have 3 feet. You didn't skip a table. You didn't do. And so I'm sitting there going, this is pretty bad. And when the waitress comes over and she's going like this, and I just don't really want to really ask, but and you had like the little kids at the table next to you, and there was like some kind of party, and the little kids are coughing, and it's just like, you don't want to punch the kid in front of the parents, but when he runs past you for the 3rd time, you just want to just a little something to sting them. You know what I mean? But when you're a germaphobe like me, you start thinking, hey man, I'm going to get his slobbery germs on me, and I'm running out of hand sanitizer because I bathe in that shit. That's my cologne. You go around and it's like, hello. It's like, well, what's that smell? It's alcohol. It's
Purell.
It's Purell.
Ode to Purell.
So I'm sitting there, and this is no joke. I used to work at Channel 4, and I'm thinking, my God, this is a story for Channel 4. They would send somebody out here immediately. If I called up and said, they're not social distancing in this restaurant, literally they were stacking people. Like, you were, we're further than we were from the, they're packing them in there. Wow. But there were people, like I said, and I'm not being a jag-off, coughing, and it's just like, it's just like, man. So I'm sitting there, and I'm not joking. Channel 4 shows up. And I thought it was 7
You
minutes.
didn't call them,
It
did
was
you?
7 minutes after I thought about it.
Wow.
And Channel 4 shows up and they put up the tripod, stuff like that. I'm like, I'm out of here because I don't want to be I don't want to be seen on there. I like
Holy
wave the
shit.
show and I'm like, hey, I got to go. Yeah, because I used to work here.
There's a Facebook ad.
But like literally, and I've been to bars and I've been to restaurants and it's been crowded, but they at least had the social distancing thing going on. We can somewhat feel kind of safe.
Sure.
I didn't feel safe there. when you see the kids coughing, because they're little
Yeah.
kids, and I know you got little kids, but they're like they're hacking, and it's just like, it's like
Let me ask you a question, because I'm curious. So, take COVID out of the mix. Do you still feel the same way?
oh, I would slap that kid for coughing on my
No,
shit.
I was just
you
curious.
little motherfucker. Yeah, but yeah. So but it was great. Yeah, I just don't dig.
Yeah, I get it completely.
And I always carried, even before this, they used to laugh at me because on tour.
Yeah.
I'm around sweaty people all the time. I bathe in that shit, man. I was the man that was most prepared for this thing.
You were.
Because I had like a case of like little hand
man.
sanitizers. I already had it.
You could have made a lot of money
I could have
off
made
that
a lot
shit.
of money in the beginning, but I thought, you know what, I'm hanging on to this shit. And but yeah, so you had little kids coughing, and and I would have smacked them on a normal day too. But
Yeah.
New Owl's Cafe.
that's
Yeah.
the place. I don't want to say
That was
it.
the place.
Yeah.
Okay. Because ironically,
I don't wanna say it.
I had
Yeah.
to piss, and I was driving home from a real estate appointment out that way, and I went to there was a Walgreens right next door.
Yeah.
It's connected, and I'm like, there is no way in the middle of the day, like around noon, Walgreens could be wall to wall. Were they giving drugs away? Oh, maybe they're testing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I pull in there, and then it was Owl's Cafe was packed.
That's the place. That's where I was at.
And I was like, well, and then it looked like it was maybe a private party because there was, I don't know, it just, and I left the parking lot going, well, this ain't gonna work. I'll hold it, but I had the vibe like something in the middle of the day, something was going on.
It was jam packed, man, and it was. And when I say that, literally, it was. There had to be. I think at one point I counted 15 tables.
Wow.
When we were leaving, and it was there was more people coming in.
I know you don't do criminal law,
Correct.
so I'm not going to ask you definitive stuff, but just generally speaking, what kind of just general liability, based upon what you know about what's happened to this point, what kind of liability would a business be putting themselves in for to find that order?
Well, here's clients ask me this all the time, right? And here's where I see the issue. We talk about business liability. How can you prove? Tell me how you can prove I got COVID from going into a business.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
That's the thing. Like we keep talking about something. Like let's look. And I as I practice law, I try and take a practical approach. Like let's put the law aside. Let's look at it from a practical perspective. You went in there, right? And say you get COVID, but you also came here. You went other places. So how can you definitively prove that was the place? And that's what I tell a lot of my clients. And look, there's no lawsuits haven't been filed.
Right.
The second thing is, look, if you get COVID and recover, what's your damages?
Yeah.
You got sick and you got better. Okay, cool. And that's what people are so afraid, and they're talking about this liability protection. But again, like I would find it hard pressed to be able to prove, unless you can show that was the only contact I had. Yeah. And that's almost impossible. If you go to the grocery store, you touch a shelf. Right. I mean, they say it lives on. Like, if I'm the attorney on the other side, did you go to Walmart? Did you touch a surface? Do you know that the coronavirus can be on a surface?
Did you go to your mailbox?
Right. Did you go anywhere outside of your home?
But is that good science? Like, because I thought
none of this shit is good science.
The change is touting where like it's not surface related. Now they're saying it really has to come from the air.
Yeah, I mean, if you went outside near your neighbors,
right?
Like, how do you know my neighbor wasn't sick?
Yeah, I mean,
and my neighbor wasn't coughing while I was talking to him about something else. And there you go. It's and like you said, it's so hard to say if you go to if you're trying to sue somebody for like business liability.
Yeah.
It's so hard to say like, where else have you been in the last 7 days?
Yeah.
Like, have you left your house at all in the last 7 days? If you have, who's to say you haven't got it from here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here.
That whole contact
Yeah.
tracing thing is you know, it reminds me.
You have an iPhone now. You can contact trace right on your iPhone. Good to go.
That's all bullshit to me. The whole concept of contact tracing is just, if that isn't 1984, I don't know what is.
I made the mistake of reading 1984 and then watching the movie during the pandemic, and I'm like, this is 1984. Like, fuck.
He and I are old enough to really kind of somewhat remember. You may be a little bit too young. You're definitely too young. AIDS and
There's AIDS? Got the vids, man. Got the hips.
AIDS in terms of, you know,
I was in eighth grade
there
when
was
that
an
came out.
element
I was
of
in 8th grade.
I was.
there was an
Magic
element
Johnson.
though there was an element of very primitive contact tracing
Oh, yeah.
concepts then.
Yeah.
You know, like, because it was horrifying to me being 17 to 25, the height of all that stuff, you know, and then saying, you know, the thing went around like, well, you know, if you sleep with her, you've now slept with everyone she's ever slept with. Now, I don't know how factual that is.
Yeah.
But that was a phrase that was floated around.
yeah.
Do you remember that? That was
yeah.
that was how.
I kept that too. I racked my numbers up. I slept with 105 women last week.
Well, I
Your count just went up. You're like, my count just went up. All right.
But to your
how we're
point,
doing
like,
that.
I remember when I was, you know, like I said, in 8th
Well, you
grade,
got
like,
an early start. Man.
No. But I remember thinking, like, I'm like, man, this is going to be a big problem. And I felt like it was going to be this huge problem in life, like, you know,
Yeah,
HIV, and then it
yeah.
just kind of
Okay.
not went away,
so,
but just
so now that's a sexually transmitted disease versus a communicable
Correct.
disease, right?
Correct.
So, two different animals. I get it, Mr. Medical Professional, but talk about
Loosely speaking.
depends what day of the week, right?
Yeah, loosely speaking.
Talk about though the element of fear in society in both instances where things never end up as bad as elements of our society propel them to be in advance of what is supposed to happen.
So
Right?
like, so then and now, the common denominator is
Social media.
The media. Social media.
Yeah.
Well, like social media wasn't
Media
even
in
there
general.
then, but the media in general. So if you were to, Christmas morning, that guy in Nashville blew up
Yeah.
a whole like block, right?
Yep.
You turn on the news or you flip on to CNN, Fox News, you still see this like bright red. This is the number of COVID cases. This is the
Right.
number of COVID deaths. All this, not hey, somebody blew up a whole block in Nashville.
Yeah.
It's this is the number of deaths. Now, if they were to do that for the flu, and you go back 15 years for the flu, and they did that every year the same way, some of these stories aren't the same. You don't get a lot of the same coverage that you do now. It's this is a different type of virus. We get it, you know, but the media sensationalizes
yes.
everything.
Are we not
And they
learning
make
from
it
history?
all
Yeah.
Are we not learning from history? Because
I feel like we're just
100 years
repeating
ago,
history.
well, but 100 years ago, the last pandemic, we didn't have all this technology, you know, from a media standpoint. We also didn't have the science for the treatments then, but we did understand the way the virus moved through society, and they also understood the differences in climates, seasonal climates, and how that related to being people sequestered in a greater communicable opportunity for the disease during the winter months and so forth. We understood that, and it was, and then the one before that, we had enough data that it was about an 18 to 20 month kind of period
Yeah.
that it worked its way through. Maybe we would be a little bit shorter in that we benefited from the technology and the medicine, but
They wore masks too.
and they did,
100 years
and they
ago.
did.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, it blows my mind that we knew these numbers were coming based upon science and history. This was going to happen, but we act like it's not that it's bad, but we're acting like it's this horrific turn of events,
and nobody expected it.
and no one expected it.
Yeah.
That's
No,
the
they
problem.
That's
knew.
what boggles the fucking mind.
Yeah, they act like no one knew this was coming. Like, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And you know, we locked down in March, we locked down in April. Nobody's going out, no one's doing anything. Everyone's supposed to mask. We closed down these businesses. We flattened the curve. Cool, we're good to go forward. Now, holy fuck, we're well above. Like we are way worse off than we were when this all first started, right?
That was
and
predicted.
you're like, yeah, we kind of knew this flu season works that way.
Yeah.
Come fall, winter,
Right.
people get sick, old folks get sick. It runs through nursing homes. It happens, and that's what goes through. Like, so when they came out with the COVID vaccine for this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were elements of a coronavirus, vaccine and the flu shot that you get every year if you
Right.
get it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a different variant of this one. So it's not like none of this is expected, but the news needed something to
Right.
make
see,
headlines
here's
every
the-
day. Now, like, people are like clicking on it every day, like, holy fuck,
Yeah.
how many people died today?
And
How many
that's
people
the
did this? You're
insidious
like,
thing.
That's the question I have, and I'll ask you this because I like I said, I have a couple of clients that are doctors, and they kind of all think the media has sensationalized this. And one thing they said is, look, I don't know when the flu season runs, right? Like they say they start the count of deaths and end the count of deaths in a season, then they restart the count. This has just been a continuous count.
There's been this
They
season.
said this has really been like 2 flu seasons. So if this was the flu, the count would have ended at some point in time, maybe in the spring, summer, and then restarted. But now it's just a running clock.
Right.
And it creates more fear. And yeah, it's something, right? And it's dangerous, but when the media, when you have like a sports ticker, 3 million people, 300,000, that's all
And
you see.
do our psyches need to be shown that
No.
24/7?
No.
Really? Do we need to be seen?
No.
I mean, I think it should be available for us to go view it if we want to. There's a big difference between seeking things out and having them bombarded into your senses 24/7.
and part of the problem early on with this, purely my opinion, was that early on in this whole pandemic, it didn't matter. You could have died you may have had lung cancer, but ended up with COVID at the end, and
That's a
that's COVID death.
Yeah.
That's
Like
bullshit,
COVID death.
though.
Yeah.
Somebody
That's
has a heart
bullshit.
attack, or somebody has some sort of, cardiac related issue after COVID. It's a COVID complication, COVID death. There you go. So now those numbers get thrown right in with it, and you're like, well, who's to say this person didn't have, these risk factors beforehand? Who's to
Right.
say they didn't have diabetes or this or this? Like, they may have been well on their way, and they're in a hospital for a week, and COVID somehow they
Yeah.
come out, contract COVID, and now you throw that right in with the rest of the numbers, and I'm not saying numbers are inflated, but the media has made this way worse than
Yeah, I mean that's
had to be.
I mean that's been my belief, and I don't discount any death, right? I mean that's if anybody dies, that's a shame. But I mean I think as Americans we deserve at least transparency, and I think we weren't given transparency.
How about proportionality? Like, why can't we look at things for what they are
It's too difficult.
in proportion to, comparables like we do in real estate? You make comparables from property to property. Well, how about comparables to what else has happened in history in similar ways, right? What's the problem with doing that?
It's difficult, man.
Well, they're starting to alter the curriculum in schools now, like what they teach as far as like history goes and things like that. And
Yeah.
I was just reading yesterday. There's I don't know if it was Massachusetts. It was somewhere in New England where they're taking the Odyssey out of curriculum. Like, oh no, we're
The
not teaching this
Odyssey?
anymore. Yeah, like it's not a required
Homer's
reading
Odyssey?
anymore. Yeah, so it's not a required reading anymore because there's I don't know, whatever it was too violent or whatever it was. So it's no longer required reading. They're taking it out. People have complained enough to go. But this is my issue with social media now, is that you have these vocal majorities on either side.
Yes.
Whereas everybody's kind of
They're
in the
actually
middle, right?
vocal minorities. 'Cause
They're
the majority's in the middle.
Well,
Yeah,
they're
agreed.
minorities. but they're the vocal majorities that are on either side.
Got it.
And we're all kind of in the middle, whereas these people are on either side. Like if
'Cause
you
we're
say this
working.
and they don't agree, and they don't agree with it,
Yeah.
you should be canceled. Like I don't agree with
Yeah.
what you said.
Cancel culture.
We're done. We're taking you off. But that's not everybody. That's not like the middle. That's not all of us. Like
No,
we're all
exactly.
we can be rational.
Yeah.
The problem is the far end of the left, far end of the right.
Yeah, the most vocal.
Cannot, and they're most vocal on social media, and they can't be rational. And now, as a society, this is purely opinion. As society, we've almost lost the ability to have a healthy debate, a normal debate.
Pragmatic debate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's pragmatism's gone.
That should be the new
It's just
party.
completely gone.
The pragmatic party.
I mean, I always say if I ever ran, I'd run down the middle because I have views on both sides. I mean, I'd lean.
But what a great name for the
I like
independent
it.
party, the pragmatic party.
Yeah, I
Not
mean,
Democratic, Republican, the pragmatic.
that's what we need
Yeah.
more of. I mean, I just want to go
I'd like
back
to
to a
announce my
time when
candidacy.
I will donate to your campaign 100%. I just want to go back to a time where we can watch The Office and laugh and not be offended. Like I think about that all the time and use that analogy, right? The Office is one of my favorite TV shows.
Or maybe Seinfeld. I'm a little older
It's
than you,
super
but-
offensive.
I mean-
it's super funny.
Seinfeld.
And 10 years ago, it was one of the highest rated TV shows.
Yeah.
No one got offended by it.
Right.
If you put that show on today, those people will be fucking canceled in 30 seconds. Like I watched the reruns. I'm like, holy shit! Like this is in today's
And
world.
that's
This would
only
offend
10
every,
years ago.
Only 2012, I think, is when it ended. So that's even 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Like think about how much society has changed in 8 years.
Because, and I know this is a pet peeve of yours, Mr. Liberal, but this is a big pet peeve of yours. Like, everybody's so fucking offended. They're looking
Everybody
to be
gets
offended.
offended.
Yes.
Half of the stories that I would love, I don't know what he's going to ultimately put in his book, because I'm sure that's still being figured out. But I would half the stories though that we'd love to share on this show.
Yeah.
You can't.
I can. I have no sponsors. I can do whatever I want,
Yeah.
but we're not going to because I don't want the aggravation.
of
Yeah, exactly.
offending people.
Yeah, right.
Because they
And
want to
that's-
be militant about it.
Exactly. Now, here's my favorite thing: is you were talking about The Office.
Yeah.
I, who have been a good boy and been hiding myself out during this COVID epidemic and doing absolutely nothing, have been watching every South Park episode ever.
The most irreverent show in history.
And my God, I'm like, how the hell did they get away
because
with
they
this?
don't,
They don't give a fuck.
care.
They don't give a
That's
fuck.
so beautiful.
And the thing
Yep,
was, it's
that's it.
like, yeah, I get it. It's a cartoon
Right.
and not a real person saying it. But man, and I was just sitting there laughing, thinking,
Yeah.
this episode's from like 2003, 2004, because I was like looking at the dates on.
Yeah.
I'm like, they could never get away with that today because there'd be a Kyle or a Karen
Yep.
sitting there going, you can't do that. You can't say that. You can't do that. You hurt my feelings.
Is Timmy still a character on that show?
Timmy and Jimmy. They're all
Timmy and
those-
Jimmy, yeah, they're all still there.
Think about some of the characters on that
My
show.
God, yeah.
Like but that's the thing. Like, what? And I'm curious. Everybody's opinion. What got us to this point? Why are people so offended? Like we had a discussion today in the office because my son was telling when he's a freshman in college.
Yeah.
And he was telling me when he went to freshman orientation, right? They were talking about genders, right, and gender identity. And he said that the nurse or who was giving this presentation, she said she identified as a they them, and he didn't know what that means, right?
I don't know what that means. What's that mean?
But he was like, I don't understand. She looked like a female. She spoke like a female. And I explained to him, and he said, but then they also went on to say there are 100 and some identifiable genders.
Yeah,
no, there's not. There's two.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, I don't understand. And maybe I'm old fashioned. I don't understand that. Like what got us to this point? Like, how did we get to a point in life
All right,
where...
let's talk about that. Did we get here because... I'll throw a couple ideas out.
Yeah.
You can talk amongst yourselves. There's a thought that boredom has set in with an element of society that because we made things so easy, they're looking for alternate ways to live because they're bored. I mean, technology has brought an incredible amount of information and ideas, and you put 360 million people in one country. you're going to get a sliver of people with some radical, freaking bizarre ways of living, which that gets propagated with social media. And if it catches on, it gets a little bigger and a little bigger and get weirder. Or is it basically life got just so easy and there's so many programs in place to give people a way to exist without having to do earnest work, that to continue that gravy train, they have devised quirky things to create elements of their persona that, if impugned upon, can be discriminatory to create an identity to possibly keep the gravy train going. I mean, it's just weird, because obviously this thought process came from somewhere. And even if you are listening to this or watching this and you're part of that thought process, it's not a direct attack against you. And we're trying to understand how 10 years ago the way you're thinking did not exist.
Yeah, it frustrates me. This was like a meme on social media, and they were talking about forgiving student loan debt. And this meme put everything into perspective for me. It said, we're supposed to believe that 19-year-olds didn't have the mental capacity to understand the debt they were taking on, and we should forgive it, yet 7-year-olds have the mental capacity to decide their gender.
Yes.
And it's just like, I read that and I'm like, that says it all right there. Like, how have we gotten to this point? Like, I'm a parent of 3 kids. My youngest is 7. If my daughter came to me and said she identified as a different gender, I would say, okay, let's talk about this. Let's go talk to someone. Let's do the work to try and understand why this came about. But again, I feel like it comes down to laziness. People want ease, and I'm not saying parents out there, but
people want to feel special.
Well, that, and it's like to you, the participation trophy. Like, I remember when my son was playing sports, second place, first loser. Sorry, like you don't get. Life isn't about participation. Like, you get what you put into it. You get out of it what you put into it.
You might hurt someone's feelings.
But guess what? We've got to get past that, because I think as a society, if we can get past that and get past being so offended, we can have debate and discourse and actually solve fucking problems in the world.
Yes.
But we can't do that now, because if I have a differing opinion from someone that's very far opposed to me, I'm vilified. They won't even listen. And we've got to get back to a place. If we want this to be the America it once was, we have to get to that spot where we get past being offended by every fucking thing. And I'm sorry if anybody out there is offended by that. It's my belief.
We just don't care.
There needs to be the ability to have a civil discussion and say, look, I don't agree with you, and here's why I don't agree with you.
Exactly.
Like all 4 of us here probably don't agree on everything.
Right.
But you know what?
But I respect your opinion.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. That's
We're all
exactly
sitting here, and we respect each other's opinion.
Get to that
But
without
we cannot,
humility.
and hey, I'm
To have
great point.
as a human being,
Such a
humility.
good point.
Yeah.
Don't be married to your wrong decisions. Don't
Yeah.
be married to your wrong ideas. If you get to the point where I believe there's a lot of people that encounter how wrong their decisions or beliefs are throughout their life, through conversation, through the
I'm the
religion.
king of all bad decisions.
I've made plenty in my life.
But there's a lot of people that encounter that and then don't have the humility to walk it back, own up. Instead, they become married to a bad decision, and they start fighting for things that aren't true. And when you start fighting for things that you know as a human is wrong, you are living a lie. And if you live an internal lie, talked about that many times on this show, you will not live a good, happy life.
No, not at all.
You know where it all started, and I'm not going to be all religious or
Why not?
a dick on this shit.
That's why I stopped now.
It all started when they started being offended by the 10 Commandments on government buildings, and they want those down.
Good point.
And that's where it started. You had these people, and once they started taking rules, it doesn't make a difference if it was in the Bible or whose Bible or whatever Bible. Everybody believes the same thing.
Yeah.
Those were good guidelines to live by.
Yeah.
And they still are.
It doesn't
flush them out.
You know what? Because they're in the Jewish Bible, they're in the Christian Bible, and they're probably in the Muslim Quran, because those cats believe in that stuff too.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, but the thing is, when you start taking down values from it shows, you
Then
know,
anything goes.
had these people. Now everything goes. Now look where we're at.
Exactly.
X amount of years later. you're in a society with no values. People don't value human life. You can walk out on the street right now and somebody's going to shoot you for what? 65 cents or whatever you got, or your watch, your phone, or whatever.
Or if you look at them funny.
People don't care anymore. There's no value on anything, and that's what happened. Oh, wow, look at me. I'm getting political.
Yeah.
They've taken
Started
away...
to sound like a Republican over there.
They've taken away the identity of what this country was built on.
Think about the 10 Commandments. They're a great framework
Right.
of society.
Right.
Treat your neighbor kindly. Don't kill people. Don't sleep with your neighbor's wife.
Don't steal things.
Don't steal shit. Like, those are basic principles of common human decency.
I'm offended.
I mean, like you could
but that's funny because it's like, just because it was attached to a certain religion, people were, instead of taking a step back, humility, and saying, that's not my religion, but let me just look at the actual words and the rules.
Right.
Oh, those make sense.
Right.
Like, that's kind of how we should fucking live anyways.
Well, wouldn't you want your neighbor abiding to those if you're going to live next to them?
Don't kill me. Don't steal my shit.
Yeah.
Don't fuck my wife.
But unfortunately, we're at a spot where people are like, "Hey, don't do this, don't do that." This is what Moses
Don't
said.
tell
People
me
are
what
like,
to do.
Yeah, people are like, Moses was a dick. Fuck that guy. You're
well,
like, wait a minute, hold on.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
they
you're like,
want
wait a minute.
Right. And that is unfortunate.
If you want to better yourself, you got to do it. Hey, man, my family was immigrants. They came in from Russia. They were coal miners. You know what? We still live in the same coal mining, coal patch town that they came to in 1918 when they came over from Russia. It's the same house my aunt and my mom and dad used to live in. But you know what? We've grown past that.
Yeah.
If you want to get out of that coal patch town, you got to make something better of yourself.
Right.
Or you can sit there and you can wallow in your own misery and sit there and bitch. But the only difference between then and now is they got a platform.
Yeah,
they got
exactly
social
right.
media,
That's exactly right.
and they can sit there and bitch about it. And now everybody's going to take up your cause and this, that. And this sounds great because you know what? I'm sitting in the house and I'm bored with COVID. Let's go tear down some statues.
People want to belong to a team.
Exactly, and they want to belong to a winning team.
Yeah, exactly.
And so let's and it's hooray for my team because my team's right, your team's wrong.
Yep.
And that's where America's been divided.
And it's and my take has been since the inception of certainly my life in terms of trying to understand society. There's nothing on this planet I abhor more than racism, and I'm sure you guys agree.
Yeah,
and just
absolutely.
nothing. And it's the stupidest thing to do to label anybody for any reason, but for that reason because of skin color, it's ridiculous. I can't. And being a Caucasian, I cannot identify living as an African American person in this country. I cannot identify it. I can't understand that completely, but I can understand how I feel about it.
Yeah.
My argument is just don't extend the vitriol and the hate either direction based upon the actions of the past with people that are not alive today that didn't formulate the way we think or do our behavior. If we're not evolving as people and it's one thing to say that hate runs deep and all that stuff, but if you also at the same breath cannot evaluate the progress people make and judge them upon their actions and what appears to be their character, then we're not going to move forward. We're never, if we keep going back, whether it's rewrite history or just be angry about the history that we observe and bring that anger here and start lashing out at people here that had nothing to do with that, we're never going to move forward. We are rehashing the past and using that vitriol to hurt each other. I don't get it.
No, and look, I think there are systemic problems in this country. We know that. There are racist people, there are evil people, and they're never going to be able to eliminate that fully. I also believe
there's a lot of bad people for a lot of bad reasons.
You should not judge a person or a category of person based upon a small subset of that demographic and their actions. You judge a person based upon their content of their character and the choices they make. Yeah. That's what I believe. When it comes to racism,
that Martin Luther King guy was pretty damn smart.
Right, and it's the truth, and it's there are evil people out there. There are systemic problems that we have to fix in this world,
and we can do that.
But the problem I have is the conversation we're having is about equality of results and not equality of opportunity. We have to get to a place in this country where there's equality of opportunity for everybody.
And that's what we should fight for.
That's what we have to fight for. But when we talk about, just because I've accomplished something and I'm one demographic, a white male, that doesn't mean if you're a different demographic, you should have the same result. You should absolutely have the same opportunity I had to get the result. But I also worked 18 hours a day, 7 days a week for fucking 20 years.
And I will also acknowledge, too, that a lot of people don't have that opportunity.
Of course, absolutely.
And that stuff...
That's what we have to fix.
We have to fix that.
Absolutely. We have to find a way to do that.
And it doesn't even go against, it doesn't even just fall to color or religion.
No.
It's women.
Yeah,
women as
absolutely.
well.
100%.
So I mean, it's everywhere. But you've got successful women.
We just label like it's so
easy
insane.
to label.
We label people. I mean, am I right? We label them. I don't get it. Like, I don't understand. We talk about for purposes of podcasting. We talk music and how stupid it is to label music and try to pigeonhole this particular band into this label and how ridiculous that is. But in the bigger picture, how the fuck can you label people and put them in a box and put them on a shelf and look at them and once in a while move this guy or gal to this box because something's changed in our brain? It's nuts.
Well, like we've talked about a million times, people don't want to do the hard work in life. And to really try and understand people and understand a person, it takes work, right? I mean, we have to develop a relationship with someone. It's easier for me to say, you look like someone I know that's an asshole, you're automatically an asshole. And that's not right. Like, that's what we have to get past. We have to start approaching life differently. And I hope that every generation we're getting better. And I look at, how do I teach my kids to be better than I was? Like, that's my sole goal. If my kids end up better than me, I know I'm doing something. I can't fix all the problems in the world. If there was a way I could, I would. I can't. I can do what I can do.
Yes.
And the most direct thing I can do is make sure my kids understand how the world works and how to make it better. Right. And I think if everybody got on board with that and we stopped fucking fighting with each other and having these arguments and just saying, okay, we may differ and we may vehemently differ on certain things, but we also live in fucking America and we're here for a reason. And we have freedoms and fundamental rights. And how do we make this place better moving forward for the next generation? We're not going to fix our generation. We're not. Like, people our age, 40s, 30s.
But how do we teach
50s?
Humility to the younger generations? Because I think it comes down to that. If you don't understand or have the capacity or the willingness to practice humility, nothing can stem.
Get past the participation shit. You've got to learn to fail.
They're entitled.
That's it.
They feel entitled.
Yes, exactly. Like,
All right, Mr. Hockey Coach.
No, so hey, we can go.
great.
So I want to go lighthearted with this, right?
Yeah.
We talked about having a good show on 2020. So
we got deep.
with my kids.
We always get deep
I love
in this
deep.
show.
Oh, we got real. And I love
I
deep.
need another beer suit, man.
And I will
we're taking
bring
a break
this.
in a second.
Yeah, and I will take this right back to being deep. So my oldest son, one of my best friends from the Army, has a daughter. It's my oldest son's age, and that's his future wife.
Yeah.
There's also a girl at his daycare that's his future wife. Like, I want to marry
Player.
Ellie.
He's a
player.
Player, man.
And he'll tell you flat out.
You didn't get that from Dave.
He was like, he's like, I want to marry Audrey and Ellie. And I was like,
My
okay.
daughter's name's Ellie.
Tell me you're living in the
hey.
wrong state for that.
And, well, so I was like,
Those are called life goals.
I was like, hey, bud. And this is what I teach my kids.
Teach your kid to marry
good.
two chicks. I love that.
No. This is what I teach my kid. So what I'm teaching him is, I was like, hey, so you want to marry Audrey and Ellie? Okay. I was like, well, you have to move to Utah to do that. And he was like, I know you're messing with me, Dad, because Audrey lives in Ohio. I was like, yes, Audrey lives in Ohio, but there's one state in America where you can marry two women, and it's Utah. So you would have to move to Utah to marry two women. And you want to marry Audrey and Ellie? He's like, yep, I want to marry them both. I was like, all right, so let me ask you this. I was like, I'll ask you this. I was like, I am a married man, right? I'm married to your mom. One person. I'm married to one person. Do I seem like a happy guy to you? Why I was like, why do you think it's legal in one place? Why do you think one state? I was like, why do you think one state allows that to happen? Because everybody else knows this is not a good idea.
This is a terrible
Because
idea.
two women. I was like, Mom was
Terrible.
bugging you the other day to do this. Mom told you to do that. Were you happy about that? No. I was like, do you want two people doing that? No. I was like,
thought
there
about
you
it that
go,
way.
my
That's a
son.
good logic.
I was like, there you go, my friend. I was like, this is why
Good logic.
marrying two women is only legal in Utah. Why you can't marry Audrey and Ellie
That's
in
great.
one state. That's why you'd have
That
to
is
move. And
so
he was
great.
like, does mom nag you? I was like, I'm not getting into that right now with you. We're not having this
Yes.
conversation because he will throw me right under the bus. He has no problem with that. Saying like he did that. But I told him, I was like, I'm married to one woman. Am I a happy guy to you? And he was like,
He couldn't-
silence. He was like,
That's a good explanation.
I'm not
'cause, I mean,
sure. Yeah, I was
like,
like,
I think
dude,
we
yeah,
solved
that'd
that
be kinda
problem.
I was like, do you really
Yeah.
want to marry two women? Like,
that was
Yeah.
my whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, I always had girlfriends going, I know you're cheating on me. A wife going, I know you're cheating. No, you know
Yeah.
what? I'm not. Because you know what? I'm tired of one person fucking nagging me. Why don't, you know, you got the wife going, yeah, I know you're cheating on me. No, actually, I'm not.
No.
Then you got the girlfriend going, yeah, I know you're cheating on me. I'm like, nah, you know what? No, I'm actually.
But were they both saying it
That-
around the same time?
There was a different time period.
Yeah,
but it was
there
just
was-
like,
I mean-
it's just like, you know, it's like, no, I don't. I've got one person nagging
Yeah.
me. Why would I want two? I'm not
Yeah.
moving to Utah.
And I-
well,
I've
yeah.
been there.
I feel like the older
Then you
you
hit
get,
it-
you realize that when you're young, you're like, oh, that'd be awesome,
It'd be
man.
so
like,
awesome,
then
man.
it's like, I'm like 43. I'm like, fuck, no.
well, yeah, that's when
too
you hit a
much
point
work.
when you're like, your girlfriend yelling
Well-
at you, and you're like, fuck, you sound like my wife.
Exactly.
Damn.
It's like-
And you're like, oh, wait.
Man, so I thought it was just so amazing. Like I'd have these friends, and you know, we were all young before we were all married. It's amazing they'd be like juggling these girls, and I used to just be like amazed by this. Like, dude, man, he's got to figure it out. I got like one, and it's like so much aggravation,
Yeah.
and like I got to wait till one's done before I start another one, and then midlife, I start doing the internet dating thing 10 years ago. And you know, you're not floating different, but you're in contact with a
Yeah.
lot of different dates. Man, I thought I was in hell. I mean, hell. There was nothing attractive to that
No.
at all.
No, that's
couldn't
when you're
imagine.
like, shit, I didn't have anything right. I thought this was awesome. Now, fuck.
Yeah, like,
I
I'm
want
thinking,
this.
like, you know, when I started dating my wife, like, I just graduated law school. I met her through a friend, and it's like that's right when internet dating started
Yeah.
happening. Like, oh man, I missed out that wave. Then now it's just like this. That's all you
Yeah,
have to do. And, like,
yeah.
what has happened to this world? I feel like that would be so much. It makes it seem like it's so easy, but I feel like it would be so much work. Like,
I was
that
right-
would just make me tired.
I was
like,
right in the
fuck.
match, in the Match.com and the
Match.com.
eHarmony, then before Natalie and I got together. But right after we got together, we were seeing, like, that's when the swiping thing, the Tinder
Yeah.
and all that stuff. I
Oh.
started right. I missed all that. It was right after that. Thank God I missed that.
I don't
shit.
understand that shit.
Did you break that open? Yeah.
No, I can break it open.
Yeah,
right
break
now.
that open.
Let's do it.
So last time that Dave was here, he came bearing gifts right at the beginning of my sobriety. So it's been sitting completely unopened in my office. So what is this, Dave?
Pink Whitney.
Pink
So this is
Whitney.
this is a Barstool Sports drink.
How much
They
you want?
How much does Fred want?
I'm going to dump it in here.
You want more than that, or you want that? You tell me.
Oh, that'll work for me. Yeah.
How much you want?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Get in the bottle.
Little that's
I'll give you what's left.
Well, while you're pouring that, so usually this is the kind of comment that you use for the end of a podcast, but we're going to come to it right after the piss break. Is there any lessons that you've learned? I'm going to start with Dave. Is there any lessons you've learned in 2020? Good, bad, indifferent
That's a loaded question.
lessons. Like, I mean, not even observations, but real fucking lessons.
Yes. So one of the biggest lessons I've learned in
Get that mic over to you a little bit closer, buddy. Just talking here.
So what I've learned in 2020 is that it can always get worse. Things can always be worse. I was talking to somebody today, one of my buddies, I've been friends with since, kindergarten. And I was like, man, I'm going into 2020 with like 2003 problems. Or 2021 with 2003 problems. Like, things have been, I thought things were bad before. 2020 I thought was, this is the worst year ever.
Right.
I got my boys, they're awesome.
Right.
I got a new job, promotion, all that's been great. I was like, but you know what? as bad as this COVID stuff has been, as bad as all this other stuff has been, it honestly can get worse. You may say like,
No
hey,
doubt.
shit can't get worse. It can honestly get worse.
Yeah.
So in the span of this year, I've had to put like my grandmother in a nursing home,
Right.
which was unfortunate considering the whole COVID situation. You know, my mom passed away unexpectedly, all this other stuff. And I was like, man, 2021's not gonna, like, I'm not gonna get up Saturday morning and be like, oh, hey, 2020's gone. Shit, we're
Yeah,
good to go.
yeah,
Like, life still goes on. One
Right.
way or the other, life goes on.
Yeah.
People go through rough times. Everybody does it, you know. So the biggest thing that 2020 has taught me is that you have no idea what everybody else is going through. Not a clue what your coworkers or the checkout person at Walmart, Sheets, whatever. You have no idea what they're going through. It's probably not easy, and it's probably not going to get easier. So just, it's not hard to be kind to everybody. It really isn't. And now more than ever, we need that. And we're so divided as a country because of the, you know, it's gotten worse from say 2012 on.
Yeah.
Things have gotten a whole lot worse. We've gotten more divided. And unfortunately, we've needed to come together more and more. And we haven't. And that's the big thing I've learned from 2020 is that everybody's struggling, man. It's rough for everyone. And we need to understand that. We need to be empathetic towards everybody and help each other out as opposed to, you know, putting people down. And it's
So true.
Yeah.
How about you?
Honestly, I know I've talked about different stuff in the past, but honestly, the biggest lesson I learned is perspective. And it's really, you know, because like we've talked about before, I had that when this all happened, like it totally fucked with me mentally. Like I'm an extrovert. I get my energy from people. I was constantly out meeting people, and then I got locked in my basement basically. And what I learned is when things adjusted for me is when I changed my perspective. Like if you want to see the shit in the world, you can see the shit in the world. If you want to see what's good in the world, you can see what's good in the world. It's your choice. And there were times where I was looking at all the negative, like all the shit that was happening with COVID, with politics, with the lockdowns. I was just constantly filled with negativity. But then the moment I shifted and said, I don't have to do that. I can look, there's still good in the world. Like I still have wife, kids, my business is growing. You know, I'm healthy, I'm happy. Like this was the year, probably more than any year in the past, where I learned how important your choice of perspective is. That's probably the lesson. Not necessarily just perspective, but the choice you make in the perspective you have. I mean, if you want to live negatively and be negative, you can do that. If you want to look at the good in the world, you can do that. But it all comes down to your choice, because the shit's out there, right? I can't change what's happening in the world. I can just change how I see the world and perceive the world. And once I kind of learned that, everything really shifted for me.
Huh. You?
Don't ask me these things, man. Let the booze kick in a little bit more.
Sorry, I have a quick anecdote about 2020. So changing jobs, I've had a lot of time to listen to different podcasts, things like that. And one of them I was listening to was it was a guy who was on the raid to kill bin Laden in 2011, right? He was one of the dog handlers, but he was picked up literally just because that dog responded to him.
Okay.
It worked out well. Like he would have never been on that. He would have never done that helicopter ride if it wasn't for that dog. So they picked him up. He went with that dog. And the guy on the podcast asked him, he's like, so what was the ride into that like? Like, he's like, you're going across hostile territory. You may not make it back. He's like, what was the ride in like? He was like, you know, no big deal. Just like work for me. I was listening to, you know, I had my headphones on, was listening to music. He said, what were you listening to on your way into, like, literally the biggest mission in the world? What were you listening to? He's like, AC/DC, Money Talks. Like that was what was on my. He's
Yeah.
like that was what came in my headphones. He's like that was just was on at the time. That was that.
Wow.
And you know, a week later, we're up at our cabin in the mountains, and I'm hanging out outside, and this is how I changed jobs. I was reflecting on like work and everything else, and AC/DC's Money Talks come on, and I was like, man, you know, 9 years ago there was some guy who was flying over a border into Pakistan to kill the most wanted man in the world, listening to. This was what he was listening to before he went down. Him and this dog, and he knew him never back. And I'm listening to it, bitching about it at work, looking at a computer screen, this and this, and I was like, it is about, you know, you can do whatever you want.
Perspective.
Yeah, it's about perspective. Like how are you going to look at things when it comes down to that? And you know, I kind of changed a lot for me.
I bet. You?
The booze haven't kicked in yet.
Booze haven't kicked in yet.
Give them time.
So could you repeat the question?
2020.
Could you use it in a sentence?
What lessons have you learned, if any?
I don't fucking learn any lessons anyway. Observations, I made a lot. Money talks. You know, bottom line.
That's a good point.
Money talks. You know, I started 2020 off great. I thought, I'm on top of the world. I'm back. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then how fast it just kicks you in the nuts. I had all these plans.
Yeah.
I'm going to make an album. I'm going to be a photographer. I'm going to do all these wonderful things. And then suddenly you're just standing there and somebody says, hey, look at that. And you look at it and somebody kicks you in the nuts.
Yeah.
And, you know, and down you go. And money does talk, you know, and when you don't have it, it sucks. I went from having 4 jobs to none.
Right.
And so I sat around and you know, I started off great, you know, and then all of a sudden I'm a recluse. But then I realized I'm living the same way that I always do on the road. For the past X amount of years, I've just been on the road and hiding myself in a hotel room,
right?
Because I'm trying to be good, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, so it wasn't much of an adaptation for me. And I love it because people go, "Hey, you son of a bitch! I know you're out there. I know you're out there fucking around." And I'm like, "No, actually, you know what I'm doing? I'm fucking." I'm sitting right here, like I've always done. You know what I mean? What am I going to do? It's COVID all around. I know you're right. Really, I'm actually not. You know. So the bottom line is you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And I learned that with the proper mixture of drugs and alcohol. You can realistically drink 9 bottles of wine in a day and still feel fine the next day to do it again. But you have to get it right. You know what I mean? You know, so I learned that. I learned that, let's see here. I started off wanting to learn how to play piano. And I wasn't very good.
That all went horribly wrong. And you know, paying $30 a month for piano lessons online, that blows. And so then I learned that I wanted to be a better photographer. So that was great. That worked out for a while, yeah. And then, you know what's great is as I started 2020 going, man, I'm going to be a fashion photographer. I'm going to be a rock star photographer. Yeah. Everything's going to be great, you know. And all of a sudden, it's not there. And I don't know if you guys know this, but Pittsburgh is not the fashion capital of the world.
Think?
And there's not too many fucking rock star opportunities back here in Pittsburgh.
No.
And so I learned to make do with what I had and appreciate what I had. Yeah. And what I had was bugs. And I had a yard full of bugs, and I was able to.
You photographed bugs.
I photographed bugs, and my bugs have become.
Yeah.
And now I'm really depressed in the winter of 2020 because all my bugs are dead. And but the thing is I hid myself away from a lot, and now I was out and about and saw things. So I made I think what the 2020 has taught me is make the best of what you got.
Yeah.
Because that's what you got.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm sitting here bitching and crying about, you know, the movies are gone. Oh, my rock star fucking tours are gone. There's another other thing. But I remember what got me there. I started fixing guitars again.
Yes.
I started making straps again. You know, started a book. And and I started taking pictures. Hey, I don't know if you guys know this, but I am a professional photographer.
Yeah, you're actually getting paid now.
I'm getting paid now. Yeah,
Love it.
I don't want to brag, but I made $1.98 this year on Adobe stock. I sold 3 photographs. I sold 1 twice, so it must be good.
Cheers to that.
And, you know,
$1.98, baby.
$1.98, and you know. But I thank you for the people that turned me on to Adobe stock. Because without you, I wouldn't have been able to get that Sheets cup of coffee, maybe.
Now you know how Styx felt when all their money got sucked up from downloading.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. You know, but yeah, and that was, you know, but I see, I was always used to being on the go.
Yeah.
You know, I'm here, there, and somewhere else. You know, most people sit around and go, dude, I got to go to fucking work today. Boy, I need a vacation. Guess what, folks? You've had a 9-month vacation and you're bitching about it.
Yeah.
I'm used to working 18 hours a day every day with no days off, and it was a little bit of an adjustment, but I think I found my purpose.
Oh, that's pretty fun.
So what did 2020? Because I found out what was important to me, and who was important to me, and I think that was the key, because these are the things that I missed because I'm always so, I don't say it like this, but self-absorbed with my work, because I'm always stuck in work, and I see that who was important,
right,
and what was important. So that's my lesson. And the other lessons I learned were, like, keep your phone locked. Don't bill collectors, they don't give a fucking shit that there's a pandemic.
Don't eat yellow snow.
Yeah, there's always a way to make money. You know, dude, I want you guys, check it out. Here's the thing. I started an OnlyFriends, but it's only Fred. You know what I mean? Like the OnlyFans.
Oh.
So, but you know, but nobody wants to see me naked. But the thing was, I didn't have a job.
I was wondering where you were going with this.
I didn't have a
I
job.
thought it was like a porn site or something.
I didn't have a job to get fired from. You know what I mean? I can't say, like, you know, I'm a Catholic school teacher and they found my OnlyFans site.
My brain was like, where is this fucking going right now?
So it really didn't work out that good for me. You know what I mean? So I'm still, it's only Fred, and you know, but I'm not making any. So if you guys just want to give me money for hanging out, you know,
I'll give you the money because I ain't gonna go view that shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
But
so you know what?
What'd you say?
Oh, sorry.
No.
So we're hitting on 2020, like the things that are important to you and all that stuff. You know.
Yep.
So for the longest time, I was comparing myself to my peers, like from school, from the army, from all that stuff. Like everybody's doing this, and this. Like fuck, I'm like way behind on everybody. You know. So-and-so's getting this degree, so-and-so's doing this, so-and-so's doing that. So early on in 2020, I was like, I'm doing nothing. I'm watching reruns of The Sopranos, which...
Great show.
I will tell you, fucking best show of all time. No doubt. The best show of all time. I will argue that with anybody. Best show of all time. But I was like, fuck, you know, like, I'm not doing much of anything. So both my kids are... Both my boys are daddy's boys. They're both the same. I'm a pushover, plain and simple. Like, as soon as mom walks out the door, they're like, we're getting way over on this dude. Okay, fuck this guy.
Party starting.
Yeah, like they're like, hey, we're gonna have they're like, hey, we're gonna have a good time tonight because he's not gonna say shit. But the big thing for me in 2020, and I said it too, I was like, man, I spend way too much fucking time at work. Like I feel bad not being at home all the time.
Right.
And my oldest son, Brayden, I was laying down with him one night, and he like literally like latched on, like full arms. He's like holding on to me, and he's like, Dad, I'm going to hold on to you like this all night because I like you being at home and I don't want you to go to work tomorrow. I want you to stay home with me. He was like, you don't need to go to work. I was like, well, buddy, you know, I fix hearts at work. Like, I do have actually like important stuff to do at work. And he was like, there's other people who can do that. He's like, but you're my dad. He was like, you're the only dad I have. I want you to stay home with me. And I was like, fuck. I was like, you know what? You're right, man. Like, I would gladly. Now, I would stay home and be a stay-at-home dad if Aaron would let me. Not going to happen. Apparently, like she was like.
Apparently, that's not good.
She was like, she's like, yeah, if you could, you know, if you were better at like multitasking, cleaning, all this shit. I was like, look,
multitask.
I was like, look,
we're good.
I was like, we have a Wi-Fi vacuum.
Yeah,
like, we have a Wi-Fi vacuum.
Right, exactly.
It goes
There's
all
an
over
app
the place.
For that, right? There's an
like,
app.
I was like, you can vacuum whatever you want. We're fine. I'll stay home with them. I will teach them my way. I'll teach. She's like, no.
She loves that.
Oh, as soon as I was like, look, you know, they're learning government at school. They're learning this. I can teach them that. Like, I'm bad at math. I'll hire an Asian guy, whatever. But I was like, I'll hire an Asian guy to teach him math. But I will teach him everything else. And she was like, no, we're not going down the road. But that was like the big thing that stuck with me. Is like in 2020, I was like, do I need to make money? Do we need a bigger house? Do we need this? And then when my son was like, my oldest son was like, I don't want you to go to work. I want you to be home with me. You don't need to do that. And I was like,
there's some realignment.
all right, cool, man.
Well,
I don't need to do.
I'll give you a story, man. Like, appreciate that time because, you know, my son, you know, he was with us when he was younger, like on the weekends and one day during the week because he's, you know, and I remember like he would have a hard time sleeping and he would always like come and sleep in my wife's room or try and sleep in our bed when he was younger. And I remember like being frustrated because it was hard. We were trying to get him to stay in his own bed when he was at our house. And then I remember someone saying to me, at some point, he's not going to want to do it anymore. And it just happens. And it was like, I didn't think about it at the time. And it's like, all of a sudden, one day, it's gone. Yeah. And now he's a 19-year-old kid. He's bigger than me. Yeah. And it's just like, I still look at him as this, my 5-year-old son. And it, like, I miss those days. Like, I really do. Like, I have my daughters now. With the son, it's different. Right? The dad and their son is different. And, you know, we have a great relationship now. And, you know, I see the man he's become. But that story just hit me because I'm like, God, I remember that, like, vividly. Someone telling me that, like, appreciate, like, don't wish it away because at some point they're just not going to want to do it anymore. And it's like, fuck.
Yeah, I know, man.
And it's like, and I think that comes down to a lot, like this year for me, like I think the same thing. You know, I work a lot, right? I was always on the go. I was always out, you know, not home a lot. I got to be home with my girls and spend time with them. And it made me appreciate, one, the relationship I have with them, two, the relationship I have with my wife, and three, it made me understand it's okay if I'm not around all the time because they understood that was my role. Like my role is to provide a life for them, and they're okay with that, and they come to my office and see me. Right. But I think this year had to happen for me to become okay with that because it was a constant struggle, you know, like working and am I being a good dad? Am I balancing things? And this year just really put it in the perspective for me. And that's why I think, you know, going into next year, yeah, it could get worse, but I mean, I could also choose to not look at it that way and say, I learned a lot from this year. Like this year for me, like you've said, like you grew like tremendously this year, just the time you put in. No doubt. You know, and I think people will look back, and if they didn't take the opportunity this year gave us to grow as a person or a husband, a father, a business person, they're going to regret it because this was the perfect opportunity to really learn about yourself, become self-aware, grow as a person. And I hope everybody out there just took this year and did some of that because
I hope some I don't think many did because I think fear is such a strong, overwhelming, and I don't entirely put the blame for people being afraid on them because there's been a concerted effort to scare the citizenry. My story is just I knew that I had all these positive things happening in my world when COVID started, but there were some things that weren't good. My weight was one of them. I didn't like, because I see myself on camera, not that we're all a little vain, but when you're not happy with who you are, and you're certainly, that's part of your persona, right? And it just didn't feel good. I knew that I knew being in my mid-50s and being in that condition was not healthy, so I needed a reason to do something, plus the show, but then being shut down, and now knowing that my health has got to get figured out because I can't have high blood pressure, I can't have these issues if this virus is going to attack middle-aged and higher-aged people, and the people that have these conditions are more susceptible. I just didn't want to be, and I had in the beginning, it's a little personal, but I had a view of my father in that home, and here's my father in the end of dementia, and I just, I can't stop dementia, but I know that he didn't always take care of his health, and he was the kind of guy, and Freddie knew my dad. I mean, my dad was a lot of amazing things, but he wasn't real wise with his health. My father would rather take the insulin shot so he can eat the bowl of ice cream, and I just never saw the rationale of making this kind of sacrifices with your health. So COVID gave me an opportunity to look inward there. And once my head started to get clear, because losing weight and changing your diet will do that, and quitting drinking will do that. Then I started. I just started doing what Ziegler and Rohn always said: work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And I took a little hit financially this year in real estate. Not out of laziness, but maybe realigning my priorities, knowing that I could have an amazing 21 and 22 and beyond if I got my shit together. Yeah. So whether it was weight or whether it was learning and reading a ton and trying not to spend time being scared and trying to, and it was cool to have my wife home the entire time. She, there was a benefit for her not flying. Was not that we weren't getting the same income, but you get a chance to appreciate people and what they do and what they don't do when you're around them. And I think that sometimes we're around people and we're not noticing them. So this just changed my whole viewpoint. And as I sit here today, if you had told me in 2019 that this is what my life was going to look like at the end of 2020, I really wouldn't have believed that. The other thing about this show that I came to kind of an epiphany was that somewhere during this process about 3 or 4 months ago, I made a determination through conversations with both of you gentlemen, independent of each other, that I didn't want to have a monetary show. I made the decision that there was a lot of what I was planning on this show is there's going to be that one sponsor, or there's going to be groups of sponsors, or maybe eventually the show might be self-supporting. No delusions that it's going to be a money-making venue. But it was so freeing after our last conversation when you gave me the what if, Rocky. What if the goal and the definition of the show is such that it's the most unbiased thing to hit Southwestern PA? Can you make that, does that business model work for you? Because if it doesn't, don't do it. But if it works, what about that idea? And Jim Stewart, my great friend, to give me the idea in the beginning that, what if you did this podcast? What if you did this talk show and literally just made it completely 100% advertisement free, sponsor free, and no agendas, no perceived agendas, nothing, and just see what happens. And of course, that sounded like a crazy idea in the beginning because everybody has to have a money component, right? I gave up the money component of the show, and man, it's just changed the entire complexion. People don't get it, but I get it. And I think that what we're trying to do with long-form conversation and all that stuff and just unvarnished and the whole bit works so much better in this format.
Completely agree.
You're
giving people this platform to talk and allowing other people to hear the conversation. Because like you said earlier, right, people love to eavesdrop. So you're giving people right now you're giving people a chance to eavesdrop on a 2-hour conversation between 4 guys from different backgrounds. When do you get that opportunity?
Not in 2020. Shit.
No, exactly.
There's no way in 2020 you have 4 guys sitting around having.
No.
But everything's all sound bites too. Everything we're the anti-sound bite. We are real relaxed. And we have no delusions that what we do is going to appeal to everybody. We're not looking for everybody.
No. People are gonna have differing opinions. There's gonna be people that don't like me or like you or like you or like you.
me.
Yeah, exactly, and that's okay. Like,
Of
I don't
course it is.
expect
Of course it is.
everybody to like me. Like, that's not the goal in life. My goal is to be my authentic self, and if you like me, that's great. If you don't, that's great too.
And
That's your choice.
the show is selfish, has become very selfish for me in a very positive way. I like it because without ever having any kind of goal, especially a financial goal, what you must consider to get to a financial goal will always naturally change how you maneuver. Now I sit down with people that I want to speak with or want to learn about or I'm curious about, and I don't sit down or don't even entertain the idea of sitting down with people that, for whatever reason, no fault of their own sometimes, are just not interesting to me because what they're doing isn't interesting. I had that luxury of being selective.
My oldest son would question this to eternity. He'd be like, why does someone want to talk to you? Like, why is anybody interested in hearing what you have to say? And I'm like,
I really
really?
want to talk to him.
So look,
That'd be like,
that's the thing
fucking
you're
awesome.
So we were getting ready to go to bed the other night, and he's like, Dad, you know water's healthy, right? I was like, yeah.
Water's healthy.
I was like,
No
yeah,
shit.
I know water's healthy. He's like, how do you know everything I know? I was like, how do you think you know everything you know?
God, that is so great.
Yeah, I was like, how do you think you know everything you know? Like, I taught you that. And he's like, no, you didn't. I was like, I'm not. Yes, I did. I taught you all that you know, like from birth till now. Everything you know is because of me. And he was like, no. He's
oh my
like,
God, is that
he
great?
was
That's
like-
the greatest quote.
and
How do you know
he
what
was
I
like-
know?
Yeah, he was like, how do you know everything I know? And I was like, I taught you everything you know. And he's like, no, you didn't. He's like, do you know Mom's the boss and you're the underboss? I was like, no,
even
that's
knows I'm
not how
underboss.
this. I was like, that's not.
mom's bullshit.
I was like, listen.
That's
I was
Mom.
like, yeah. I was like, this is not how any of this works, man. I was like, look, if you want to continue to get away with everything you
great.
do,
It's awesome.
I was like, if you want to continue to get away with everything that you do, which is plenty when I'm home,
Yeah.
I am the boss.
Yeah.
So you understand that? And he's like, no, you're not.
I was like, you need to get your shit in line,
I was like,
dude.
yeah, fuck it, whatever. I was like, you know what? Next time you get up in the middle of the night and you're like, Dad, come lay with me. I'm like, nope.
Nope.
You're stuck with the
let
dog.
that monster under
You're
the bed
stuck
get
with
you.
I was like, you're stuck with the dog.
Monster.
Yeah, you can sleep with the dogs because he's always trying to kick the dogs out of bed. I was like, they're yours. Sorry, I'm not getting up and helping you out with that. But he's like,
fuck, man.
how do you? He's literally, he was like, how do you know everything I know? I was like, what do you mean? How do I know everything you know? Because I was like, why last week did you ask me, Dad, why are you old? I was like, I'm not old. I'm just older than you. You know? And he was like, well, how do you know all
It's
that
all
I
about
know? And I was
perspective,
like,
man.
Gotta tell him because I'm
That's it.
smart.
Man,
That's
I was
why
like,
I got
yeah,
old.
yeah.
right.
Well, as soon as I do that, he's like, Mom says you're smarter than you. I'm like, no, she's not. But I don't want to go down that road. I'm like, no, Mom's not smarter
there's-
than me.
There's no good
Yeah.
road for you there.
No, and I've tried that. I was like, Mom's not smarter than me. I have like paperwork to prove it, but I'm not going to go down that road with you.
You didn't tell me your mom
as
is
soon as I
smart
do-
because she married me. That's
Yeah.
what.
Oh,
That's the
yeah,
trouble.
yeah,
you
that's
go.
exactly
She will
that's
tell
the
you.
response.
Yeah,
That
she
is
will
the
tell you
response.
completely different. She'll be like, you
That
know
is
what?
funny shit.
She'll be like, this is why I'm losing my mind because I live with 3 of you and not just your dad. And I was like,
Fucking love it, man.
and then that's the thing is like the other day I'm like I was yelling at Braden. Both my boys are in the tub. My wife, she's like, I'm gonna go get my nails done. Are you okay with that? I was like, whatever, go do what you want.
Yeah.
She goes get her nails done, and I have them both in the tub upstairs. Drive me up a fucking wall, and I yelled at them 5-6 times, and they're like stomping in the tub. Water's going everywhere. The dogs are like scared. They're like huddled in the corner, and I was like, and finally I was like, stop stomping in the fucking tub.
Ooh.
And my oldest son was like, geez, Dad, you don't have to yell at me. You just have to ask. And I was like,
I've asked 36
No.
times.
I was like, no. I was like,
I do have to use the F word.
I was like,
'cause that's
obviously,
the only thing that gets you to
yeah.
stop.
I was like, obviously, I have to yell at you to get you to stop doing that. And he's like, if you'd asked nice the first time, I would have done it. I was like,
What a little shit.
I was like calling his mom, and I was like, please come home.
They have
Because I
answers for
can't deal with
everything,
this
man.
kid. They do.
Oh yeah. Quick as a whip.
They have an answer for everything. Like just that fast. Like,
All right,
hey,
there. Rocco is now back. We good. So before we even go to the last question of the evening here, your kid digs Pantera.
Yes.
Fucking
How
awesome.
the fuck did that
My-
happen?
My oldest son.
You know, Fred knew all those guys.
Yeah.
You know?
So my oldest son, that's his big thing. He's big into. He's like, I want to fight. Let's wrestle. Let's do this. It's like, I want my fight music, and I was like, okay, well, this is what amps me up. This is what I listen to.
Yeah.
So we listened to Pantera, Cowboys from Hell,
Good album.
Revolution's My
Vulgar
name,
Display
all
of
that stuff.
Power.
So
Yeah,
we're in the
that's a good
parking lot.
one.
We're in like the parking lot of Walmart. My wife goes into the store and she's like, I'm not taking all you guys into the store. You guys have to stay out here. I'll go in. So I throw on. I was like, you guys want to listen to music? My oldest son's like, I want to listen to heavy metal. I was like, gotcha. I gotcha. So we throw on Pantera, like Revolution is My Name. And he's unbuckled from his seatbelt. He's in the front seat. He's like going back and forth, crawling over me, crawling over there. He's going out the sunroof. And I'm like, hey, slow down. He's like, Dad, this gets me all fired up. You got me all fired up. I don't know what else to do. And I was like,
Gets me all fired up.
stop. I was like, relax, please, because Mom's going to come out here. She's not going to like this. This is not going to be a good thing.
We're not going to be
But
allowed
he's
to
like,
listen to Pantera.
He's like, this gets me all fired up. And I was like, okay. So now when we get home, whenever we're at the house and he wants to wrestle and he wants to fight, he's like, Dad, put on my fight music. Put on my fight music. Let's go. Yeah. And that's literally my favorite. Like, dude, love that song. So I work I work in a cath lab. So whenever anybody's, we do heart attacks, like
Right.
major emergencies like that, and I have to do on-call work. And that's like, whenever I'm going into work, I have to be there within 30 minutes. So whenever I have to be there within 30 minutes, that's like what I throw on. But I'm like, all right, this is what I'm throwing on. Pantera. This is what I'm listening to
on the way home.
This is what I'm listening to on my way in to like
This is my speeding
save
music.
someone's life. This is what yeah. I'm gonna listen to this on my way in to save someone's life. Coldplay on the way home, whattever.
You know what's crazy is though all this really aggressive metal I was introduced to through Boogie Street and the work we did and Freddy, because it was heavier than stuff. I mean, Pantera was not my bag. I mean, I remember when Kiss went real heavy, like with that one album, Carnival of Souls, to try to compete with that younger stuff, and I just was like, this ain't what I. But he introduces me all this shit. So my viewpoint of him is like, we like all the same stuff, Zepp and all, but Fred's got that extra gear.
Yeah.
He's got that, it was Pantera, Damage Plan, Slayer, stuff like that.
Slayer, I went to their concert.
Okay, so the one time, a couple of years into working together, he says, hey, I want to take you to lunch. I'm like, okay. What do you think is playing in his car? Just take a fucking wild guess. I don't mean like just one CD. When I started digging through other available music in the car, because obviously this was just ridiculous, there was just a whole bunch of it, and that's all there was. You're not going to believe it. That's all he listens to.
Elton John.
I feel like it's a trick question.
It's a trick question, and he just and it's the most, to me, it's the most annoying thing imaginable.
Fuck, I don't know.
60s surf music.
Shut up.
all I listen to.
Really?
I fucking love it, man.
Surfing
My
Bird.
God.
Oh my! I got in the car. I'm like,
How are you on tour with those guys and that's all you listen to?
that's probably how you survive.
That, you know what the thing is? That's how I learned, man.
Really?
Because I'm self-taught. And so I started. Now, here's what's fucked up is during this, we were talking about things I learned in COVID. And I learned that I had to get back to finding me.
Okay.
Like the real me.
Yeah.
You know, not the cat
amen.
that you see fucking, on stage, or not the cat that you like. Yeah, because I am me to the people that know me. But I went back to my roots of music. Because I started off and I was going to record new music, and I had, I had all these big plans. Look, it's just we're going to only be off for 3 weeks, so I might as well,
Remember that?
So, but the thing
15
was,
days to slow the spread.
and
Flatten the
as,
curve.
To slow the spread.
and as things went along, I was like, you know what? I decided I wanted to learn piano, so I started learning, and I'm like, you know what? I can get by, but that's not. I need to learn to play bass again, and so I sat down, and my idea was to learn it and the way that I had never learned because, I mean, I'm out there all the time and I hadn't practiced as much as I wanted. And everybody goes, well, you're a guitar player. Now I'm a bass player. And I have this fretless bass and I love it. I absolutely love it. And I started going back out to the jam nights when they opened back up. And I reconnected with some friends and I got an awesome singer and I met these other guys. But they play 50s and 60s rockabilly. And I'm like, you know what? When I first started, I started listening to surf music.
Why?
Because but it's like the straight,
like Dick Dale and shit like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always loved Dick Dale music because it was basic.
Yeah.
145, 145, 145.
I look at the car with him like, what the
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed. I would not have guessed that.
Dude, I'm sorry, but it's just so annoying.
If you can learn that, that's what Hendrix says in Third Stone from the Sun. If you listen, he goes, he's like, if I could never listen to surf music again, and that's what it's like. It's something along those lines, But it's just that's.
Interesting.
That was my building block, and that was my foundation. I mean,
that's all you had in your car. I'm not kidding you. And his car was like there's music everywhere. Like I'm digging through.
But that's
got to be something.
But
give me Karen Carpenter. Give me something.
Rap anything.
And what's weird is everybody pigeonholes me into being like a metalhead. Now I'm like Stevie Ray Vaughan and Pink Floyd and people that play Strats.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say though. Like if people, it gets back to like why do we do that? We label because one person wears a leather jacket and has long hair. They must be this. We did this as kids because our parents taught us how to label people, and their parents taught us how to label people. It's fucked up.
It is. It really is.
All right. So last question of the night. What is your prediction for 2021? Broad sense, or anything that you think we're coming out of this. Do you think that we're going to maybe possibly treat each other better? And once we do eventually come out of it, and we will we learn how to treat each other better? Or will we learn how to treat each other better? Do we have any chance of that? David? Loaded question, I know.
Yeah, it's a loaded question. I think I said this today on my social media. I think we've all rode the struggle bus through 2020.
That's what you're calling it.
Yeah, struggle bus for sure.
I call it a dumpster fire.
His little kids.
Yeah. So we all rode the struggle bus through.
Did Braden buy that term when you told him the struggle bus?
No, he's driving that struggle bus. So I think we're driving the struggle bus through 2020. And into 2021, the wheels are falling off. The engine's on fire. Once we hit 2021, I think the first half's going to be kind of rough. There's already stories of a new strain of COVID. There's already stories of people who've been vaccinated that have been infected with COVID. So I think the first half is going to be a little bit rough for everybody. But I think once we hit the back end of 2021, I'm hoping, I have faith that people will start to be a little bit empathetic towards each other. Right now it's a rough go because everybody's so divided. Even though the election's been 7 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, 2 months ago, roughly, there's still people arguing over that.
Yeah.
And that's going to roll into 2021, into the inauguration. But I think as we move into 2021, I think everybody's going to have a little bwell understanding to the plight, small businesses, things like that.
I hope.
They can't continue at this route. So I think it's going to be a rough go for the first 6 months, but the back end, I'm hopeful, is going to be a little bit better.
Rocco?
I tend to disagree a little bit, respectfully.
Yeah.
I think as humans, we like a fresh start. I think people see 2021 as a fresh start. No matter what the situation is, I think the majority of people will look at it as, how do we make it better next year? I do, I'm an optimist by nature, so I think people have reached their breaking point, right? They're done with the bullshit. They're done with most people are done with the media hyperbole. They're done with all of these, arbitrary rules. And I think they've got through the holidays. I think they're going to come out in 2021 and people are going to start making their own decisions. I think they'll make smart decisions. I think there will always be the radicals on both sides. But I think the majority of people want to get back to normal. And I think people will do whatever they can to get back to normal. Do I believe we will be kinder and more empathetic as a society? I'm not sure, because I think that takes more than what happened this year to change that, to shift that. I think there will be a segment of the population that looks at things differently, and I think will be kinder and more empathetic. But to your point, there's such polarization on two sides, it's hard to bring those people to the middle. I'm looking for, I look at 2021 as I'm looking forward to it. I looked at this year as I learned a lot, I grew a lot. It was a good year for our business. I'm really excited for the future. I'm excited for 2021. Once I kind of, to go back to my earlier point, once I learned about shifting the perspective,
Right.
I'm just choosing not to watch the fucking news.
Yeah.
And look at all the bullshit.
amazing
And it's just when you stop I got sucked into that news cycle of every day I'm watching the press briefings and fucking Cuomo and Wolf and Levine. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? The moment I stopped doing that, I'm like, holy shit.
Trifecta there, eh?
You stop seeing the shit. I'm like, people aren't really concerned about this.
Yeah.
Once I stopped watching the news and listening to the media, I started seeing the world okay, some people are concerned, but the majority of us are like, it is what it is. We can't shut down the world for a virus. A virus is contagious by nature. Lockdowns don't work because they're really not a lockdown. It's a selective shutdown of certain segments of the economy. A true lockdown is no one leave their house for fucking 60 days, literally don't go anywhere, and then the virus just can't be transmitted.
But it'll still be there.
Good luck with that, though.
Exactly, it'll never happen.
France tried that.
Right.
France tried that, and everybody in the country was like, fuck it, we're not doing this.
Right.
They had protests.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's just not going to happen.
You can't do it. So I think, I think people are going to look at 2021 as a fresh start. I believe that. The people I know in my circles, it's they're looking forward with optimism.
Yeah.
And I think it's, when Biden gets inaugurated and, whatever happens in Georgia with politics, I think people have gotten to the point where it's just enough is enough. And
the center always wins.
Yeah, right. You're right.
And here's the, and not to go down a political rabbit hole, but I think we can probably all agree on this too. The bottom line is, once in a while, a strange piece of legislation will make it on either side. You know.
Yeah.
And sometimes, once in a while, they're land breaking, but it's rare. And the center always seems to win. Case in point, if one side would get control of all three houses, it'll be such a narrow majority that odds are likely, if a really controversial bill comes in, it's not going to get through because there's different demographics in the country, which there's going to be certain Democrats that don't want to vote in a liberal fashion, or vice versa. I mean, it's the center always wins. We're just too damn. That's just not a sexy answer.
No, but I'll tell you what. The best explanation that I heard about what has happened politically, if you have Netflix, you have to watch the show Schultz Saves America.
Yeah, he was on Rogan.
He's great.
He talks about the election, and it made complete sense to me. He said he went through how Trump got elected. He said Trump got elected because the four of us, white males, were villainized, right? And it is finally someone that was speaking to us. And the economy was good, GDP was good. Yeah. That's how he won. He's like, and he was funny, he was energetic, he spoke to us, he talked like just an everyday dude.
Right.
Now we're in a situation where the world is a shit show. We have COVID, we have all this shit going on, and his antics, people don't want. People looked at Biden as, we just want safe.
Yeah.
We just want the old way, we want normal. And they looked at Biden as, that's just the normal politician, the safe bet. And I'm like, you know what? I never thought about it that way, but it made complete sense
What they
to
were
me.
comfortable with.
Exactly. It was because Trump, he has his way. And it's, he was funny at the beginning when things were going, but when things went shit, like turned into the shit show, he didn't change the way he operated.
No.
And I understand, like, that's his authentic self, but people, the majority of people, they were afraid.
They needed to be comforted.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's not a comforting
and
person.
That made,
you wouldn't put him as a...
No.
He's not, Trump is never going to be a marriage counselor,
No.
a grief
He's
counselor.
He's not going to watch your kids.
No, but
I
it was
wouldn't want
so
Joe Biden to watch my kids. I don't
But
know.
here's the
Like,
thing,
that's the same thing. I'm like, holy fuck.
It was so interesting to hear put
Right.
that because I never thought about it that way. And I'm like, that makes complete sense. He is the lifelong politician, the safe choice. And it made sense to me. So to your point, the center wins because the center wanted safe.
Yeah, and
The majority of America wanted safe.
but the center, I think, always wins in the end because the fringe of society, all spectrums, they rarely ever get their fucking way, and if they do, it's only for a short time before it's realigned again. And I think that's the way it's healthy. It needs to be there.
Yeah,
right?
I agree, 100%.
But we get so wrapped up on our guy or gal winning. It's not a fucking team.
No,
But we kind of...
we pick a team.
Yeah, and that goes back to the social media thing. With 2021, every year's a fresh slate, right, in theory.
Yeah.
But it's such a big unknown right now.
It is.
It's a big unknown. If there's ever anticipation for a new year, which really it's only a day, different from the 31st, right?
Yeah.
But it's not in terms of the psyche of the country. What do you think is going to happen there, Mr. Kowalo?
Let me have another drink. Hang on.
The aliens are coming.
This
That I know to be
dumpster
true.
fire
They're already
that
here.
was
I like that
fucking
word.
2020. In 2021, I have decided already, and this is actually before this question was asked. This is actually something I've been thinking about for days. I'm the gas for 2021. There's no way I'm going to fucking sit around with my thumb up my ass like I did for all 2020. I've actually started thinking, and I made this. I've actually said this. January 1st, my ass is in gear again. I started 2020 at $187 with a 6-pack and obliques. At the end of 2020, I got a dad bod, and I got jugs now. So fucking, I don't have boobs. I don't have boobs. I have jugs. And I'm going back into. I'm gonna lose that fucking 15 pounds that I fucking gained. And January 1st, I'm seriously starting, and literally fucking for 2021, it's a cage match for WWE.
Very good. Nothing wrong with that.
And literally, I took all 2020 to realize what and who I was trying to please.
Yeah.
A 2021 for me, I'm going to be selfish, and I'm going to make it all about me. And I'm going to, I'm not going to make it all about me, but I'm going to
Enlightened self-interest.
I'm going to do good, and I'm going to be successful.
Yeah.
In 2021 because I'm not 2020 kicked my ass.
Yeah.
And it's just and I'm sitting around
Everybody.
and at the end it kicked everybody's ass. But at the end when I got really desperate at the end of the 2020, I'm like, you know what? I can pull out of this.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to do. I've got good people in my corner. Mm-hmm. I've got good friends. Mm-hmm. I've got good booze.
Good guitars.
And the thing is, this was the vacation that I wanted that everybody bitches about. Hey, I need a vacation. I work so much.
The whole world got a fucking
The whole world got a vacation. Yeah. My vacation's over.
Yeah.
And so when I look at 2021, I'm going to be, running for politics. What's our party?
The pragmatic party.
Pragmatic. I'm
Not pragmatic. Pragmatic.
I'm the
Fred.
pragmatic party.
Got my vote.
Yeah. What color are we gonna have?
Yep,
Purple.
I'm in.
We're gonna
No,
have-
no,
No.
Can't
Can't be red. can't
Red, black, and white.
Can't be green because the green part.
See, green's my favorite. But yeah, you can't do
Yellow.
You know what?
Let's go orange.
But the thing is you know what? 2021 is going to be. It's going to start off rough.
Yeah.
It's going to be rough for everybody because we are going to have at least 6 months, 6 to 8 months of this COVID shit hanging around.
Doesn't that go back to doesn't history tell us?
History. I think we've talked about this on another show. Every century at 16, 18 to 20, there's been a plague. There's been a pandemic.
Yeah.
From 16, 18 to 16, 20, 17, 18 to 17, 20.
Yep.
18, 18, 20,
Right.
19, So we've had to deal with this before. We knew it was coming. But the thing is how do you get out of this? And 2021, it's going to be rougher at the beginning, but I think that the spirit of people will get them out of it. You can't. You have to, because you've got these cats protesting. They're taking away our rights. They're stealing our jobs.
You're not germs.
They're stealing our rights. The amendments. These motherfuckers couldn't even tell you fucking constitutional fucking thing. This is against the Constitution. You know what? When you can fucking recite the Constitution to me, if you can bitch about that. But the thing is I think that a lot of people. There should be, with the new president, with the new hope, a look inward, and we're going to see a lot of this hate. At first, we're going to still see the hate that divides the country, but eventually, good will win out. It's like a Star Wars movie, you know what I mean?
I hope so.
So the good guys will always win, but hopefully that'll come across, and people will start to better themselves, and we'll get out of this.
Comes down to that choice.
Yeah, and again, it's all a matter of choice. Yeah. My choice is to better myself.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's I think that's the solution. If people will look inward, because you can't. In a big context, they tell a mother with a child when a plane is going down to put her airbag on first, right? Because she can't help her son. Okay, well, in the bigger context, you can't help anybody.
Yes.
You can't help your neighbor, your son, daughter, grandmother, mother, father. You can't be of service to anyone you care about or even don't care about, to the greater good of society, if you have not fixed yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that idea of looking inward, that's where I think it has to start, and I think people are going to start doing that.
And I would challenge everybody. Are you going to make things happen in 2021, or are you going to let 2021 happen to you?
Yep.
I think if people look at it that way, what is a choice? Because it's a choice, right? You can wake up on Friday and say, I'm going to fucking destroy things in 2021, or I'm going to sit here and just let 2021 happen to me. You get to make the choice. And it's all about that perspective. And I think if you make the right choice, 2021 will be whatever you want it to be.
You make that you're your bitch, or let it bitch slap you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Just a
one or the other.
disclaimer.
I want to make
I am
2021.
the king of all bad decisions. So
2020 bitch slapped me hard enough. I'm not letting 2021 do it. It's not going to happen.
So you guys
it's my
make the
turn
right
to smack
choice.
it back.
Yeah,
exactly.
it's getting smacked
Yes.
back. I've had
Love
my
it.
fill.
Gentlemen, I appreciate it.
course,
it's a
man.
great time. It's
Absolutely.
a great time, and it's just sometimes it's just good to some new friendships born here this evening too. Not that they didn't know of each other, but and you all are an important part of my story and the story of this show. So thank you for your time, and enjoy what's left here of 2020 as we forge into 2021. I'll be seeing you all again very soon.
Love it.
Looking
All right.
forward to it.
Absolutely.
All right, friends, we are out.
Out of here.
Thank you.
That was fun, man.
No, really, thank you.